You are looking live.
Got up at 1:41 a.m. after about 6 hours sleep. Morning, Johnny Max. You doing okay?
Felipe, you sleeping over there or you reading something?
Reading.
Can't ever tell.
I'm good.
Got to remember his phone works here now. I mean, you'll.
Might have to post up here. I was actually thinking about watching last night's game here.
I thought about it too.
Oh my gosh!
I almost came here to watch the game. Why? You have TV?
No. Okay. I was able to watch the Bengals game, Bengals Dolphins. The very next morning, the Wi-Fi didn't work anymore. I have a theory that they.
Oh, you're all Wi-Fi TV. That's right.
Right, because I'm streaming.
You just needed an HD antenna, and you'd have been fine. I have two of them.
Oh, there you go.
Apparently, Dish made a deal with Disney last night.
They finally got it done.
Yeah.
What was the deal?
Well, they didn't have one. If you had Dish, you weren't getting any of the ESPN or Disney products.
Oh,
for like the past few weeks.
No, I lived in Fort Myers. I sold my house 2.5 weeks ago. So.
We got 10 seconds.
Okay. So I'm good, Coffin Ball. Thanks. You?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. And we really do want to know, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Monday morning, the first Monday in October. Thanks so much for being with us, Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. I come at you from technically Palo Alto, almost equidistant between San Jose and Santa Clara. The Niners hosting the Rams for Monday Night Football tonight. Mark, how the heck are you?
You know what? I'm doing great, all things considered. As I said on Friday, we came out really lucky as a family, as a house. My mom, my wife, and I, we're all good. But, still fighting what everybody else is around here. The no power, but you sometimes have to just put yourself in perspective and say, yeah, we're doing a lot better than a lot of other people right now, and you just keep on keeping on. But all things considered, David, listened to a lot of football on radio yesterday. I played like it was a different century and listened to the games on radio.
And how was that?
Listened to a little Gene Deckerhoff last night. Now, with the start, it was awful. Because Gene, even, for the NFL guys, they're a little bit more even keel. Gene still has that collegiate broadcaster in him that he takes it more personally than the rest. So when the Bucs went down hard early, it was not as pleasant of a listen as it normally is for the great Gene Deckerhoff.
Yeah, 21-3. I could see where there was a little less starch in what Gene was doing, but Chiefs took it to the Bucks last night in a game that was not as close as the final score. And Gators actually played yesterday. I mean, they played, Eastern Washington, and it was a scrimmage, but they played. They won. Hopefully, nobody got hurt.
Thank goodness they played, because somebody in Florida had to win this weekend, David.
Well, the Bucks had a tough one, no doubt, although they were a slight favorite. I mean, Jacksonville, that would have gotten everybody's attention if they had gone and won. But Florida State took one on the chin for the first time this year. Somebody's been saying Wake Forest is the second best team in the ACC. I know that to a lot of you that makes the ACC not sound good. I'm telling you, they're pretty good, at least on one side of the ball. They're very good, in fact, on one side of the ball. But, the ACC is sneaky good this year. I mean, it really is. Bunch of ranked teams, bunch of teams just outside the rankings. The ACC is sneaky good. And Mark, you know when you're sneaky good when you're firing coaches before the midway point of the season.
Well, are you sure? Because I don't know if the Big Ten's sneaky good and they're doing the same thing, David.
Wow, was that a shocker late yesterday? I was like, wait, what? Wisconsin? What happened to no school knows who they are more than Wisconsin? My goodness, guys. What's going on there? Everybody line up, get drug tested. Seriously, what's going on?
Yeah, that one caught me by a big surprise, because that is just so not Wisconsin. That's
The other
not
thing,
their brand. That's not what they do.
And from now on, we shouldn't even mention the buyouts. We shouldn't even mention them. Because A, these schools have far more money than they're leading on. Or B, they know they can pick up the phone and 2 phone calls, 2 texts, and an email, and everything can be taken care of if need be. So, Mark, going forward, I'm not sure if we should mention the buyouts, except just for, I don't know, curiosity's sake. Just, hey, by the way, when they do this, they're going to be writing a check for blank. Isn't that lovely? $16 million for Wisconsin to move on from Paul Chryst.
In fact, it should be like Don Pardo at the end of a game show and read them out like they're a parting gift. Instead of Rice-A-Roni, your parting gift is $16 million.
Come on down, Paul Chryst. You won over 70% of your games. You're 2-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. And your parting gift, $16 million and Culver's for a year. Oh, well. Tell you what, the NFL's just bat blank crazy. Just bat blank crazy. Crazy, I say. Crazy, I tell you. Man. The Detroit Lions scored 45 points yesterday and, wait for it, lost. They're the highest scoring team in the league, and they're 1-3.
Shows you the type of defense they're playing in the Motor City.
Yes, it is.
Shout out Geno Smith.
That's another thing. What in the wide world of sports is going on there?
Is this what Geno Smith should have been?
Oh, please.
No.
Stop it.
No.
Just stop it.
I mean, he's playing well.
He's playing very well. He is, and he deserves credit for a really good first 4 weeks, completing well over 70% of his passes, and he's played really well. Good for Geno. It's good. A journeyman, and he hung in there, and he's getting his moment, and they're still looking to replace him. I mean, they still can't wait to replace him. But, man, crazy league.
I mean, Detroit's given up they're averaging against 500 some yards a game.
Yeah, in the National Football League.
Right.
Right, this is in Colorado in the Pac-12 here, whose closest loss this year was 23 points, hence why they fired their coach. Well, also, Mark, because the buyout's like a little less than $9 million. I mean, $9 million? Please don't even tell me what the buyout is until you get to double figures, please. $9 million? My goodness. I'll go downstairs, get a breakfast sandwich, and get $9 million, please.
But another crazy day in the National Football League. Teams overcoming some pretty big deficits to come back and win. The Eagles and the Bills getting it done.
What's John Harbaugh thinking? Somebody help me there. Tie game, 4 minutes to go. 4th and goal at the 2. Can I ask a question? This is a rhetorical question. What's wrong with a field goal? When did a field goal become, if you kick the field goal, you're fired? What's wrong? Harbaugh, who says afterwards, well, if you knew the analytics, here's what I know. It's a tie game with 4 minutes to go, and you have a chance to take the lead. Am I missing something? Unbelievable.
Marcus Peters was going nuts on the sideline and had every right to the end of that game.
Huh. What's wrong with the lead? Then to compound things, Lamar throws a pick. So instead of the Bills starting on the 2, all right, they've got room to operate. And Coffinball in our Twitch chat room says Harbaugh does this a lot. Yeah, I get it, but man, oh man. Not only that, you hadn't scored in 2 hours.
I get that the analytics tell you that a touchdown would have done A, but what do the analytics say about not scoring? They always look at the analytics like most of us look at everything, David. Well, if we score, it's this. They never take into account what happens if we don't.
Also, don't talk to me about analytics. We haven't scored in 2 hours. We have a chance to take the lead. Send Tucker out there, take the damn lead. All right, put the pressure on the Bills. Unbelievable. But credit the Buffalo. And if you're a Dolphins fan, you had to be screaming at the TV or when you heard about it afterwards, because obviously you've got a little rooting interest in that Baltimore-Buffalo game. Would have been nice to have a 1-game lead in the standings. Instead, not so much. But, Mark, if you're in the NFC to make the playoffs, you are only allowed to have 1 loss right now through 4 games. Meanwhile, in the AFC, heck, we only have 3 teams who have 1 loss. We got 8 who have 2. I mean, the AFC is it's a jambalaya. It's a mess.
Well, and we always knew this was going to be the better conference, and you'd need 11 or 12. Come on, David. We talked about it all the way through this. 4 games, a small sample size, but yet some teams off to some interesting starts.
Miller and Moulton on this first Monday in October. We will head to Tallahassee. Jeff Cameron will join us to talk Little Knowles after they suffer their first setback of the season. It's a late edition, Mark. It was out there. It was pending. All right. I just got early confirmation from the source.
Well, there you go.
So that's why we didn't promote it beforehand. Sometimes these things are, tenuous. They're pending. They're like laying down during a commercial break, and sometimes you wake up, sometimes you don't.
Then there's that.
Miller and Moulton on this Monday. We hope you're doing okay, relatively speaking, and we hope things are slowly getting better for everybody, whether it was when we last talked on Friday, if you didn't have power and now you do, or whatever the case may be.
Still 58% of Lee County without power right now. Collier County doing a hell of a lot better. Charlotte County about the same as Lee. So they say by next Sunday, they expect to have 95% of power restored in Lee and Charlotte County. So that would be absolutely terrific, to say the very least.
A few flights trickle into the airport, I believe, on Wednesday, and it's open in a full-fledged capacity on Thursday.
In the meantime, you'll get a little Miller and Moulton. You want to text the show. 21,000 is the number. 21,000 is the number to text the show. FSN radio is the keyword. If you've never texted the show before, we would love to hear from you, whether it's about sports or anything else at this point. 21,000 is our text line. And how about that? Jeff Cameron going to be on the show today. News to everybody. Exciting news at that. We'll talk some Knowles with him coming up a little later on. Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Johnny Mac. Wink is located in downtown Fort Myers, not far from the Caloosahatchee. And so when the storm surge came in, they got water in their building. And also their tower site and transmitters and all that. So, and they were foolish enough to put all their broadcasting on the first floor and all their sales on the second floor.
Ooh. Yeah, that's costly.
Yeah, well, guy who owns it's a genius. Just ask him.
It's sad because I never went to a Dog Ford's. They're all gone.
I remember wife and mother-in-law and I went to Doc Ford's in mid-August. And I remember saying, hey, it's probably our last dinner here as a family. Because wife was moving to Jacksonville in a week.
Felipe, after the show, I need you to find out from Chris why the wrong promos are running. Because yesterday when I was listening to this station, Friday promos were running.
Okay, gotcha.
And if he doesn't have an answer, let me know, because I'm going to write a scathing email to everybody. I don't give a shit that this is going on. This happens all the time. Makes us sound like shit.
Right.
You did, Bray? Holy.
Happy you're alive.
I wouldn't do that again, man.
I think we can be pretty safe to say that when people are told to evacuate from this point forward, they're going to evacuate.
Well, hopefully they're told a little sooner.
I don't know. A and B were told in plenty of time to get out, and they didn't get out, David. I mean, when I'm texting people, are you leaving? And they're just texting me back, no. They could have gotten their cars and left. I mean, I invited people to my house who said, no, I'm good. Westhoff lost both his cars.
His cars.
Yep.
30 seconds.
I don't know when he sent me his text back. I texted him yesterday because he had posted something on Facebook, and the text came through at like 2:30 in the morning.
$15. Come back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I come at you a little after 3 a.m. Palo Alto, California, equidistant between San Jose and Santa Clara. The Niners play in Santa Clara. They'll host the Rams tonight. A San Francisco win mark, and the entire NFC West is 2-2, which is half of the AFC for that matter. Niners a 1.5 favorite tonight. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network.
So it looks as if the whole Tua injury and the injury from last week is taking a little more to decipher, as the doctor who looked at Tua a couple weeks ago was fired.
Right.
They made changes to the concussion protocol. I mean, I don't know about you, but I find this amazing to see these changes happening during a season, that they weren't already in place in certain areas. And it does show a little bit of the hypocrisy of we're worried about player safety.
John Madden, to his credit, 40 years ago, in his early days of broadcasting, said out loud over and over again during broadcasts, I don't know how someone who gets knocked out returns to the field and plays again the next week. He goes, never understood it. Don't know why we allow it. He said this 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Nobody stopped him from saying it for the next 25 years while he broadcast. But Mark, you and I have lived through, remember in boxing, they finally put in a rule that said if you got knocked out, you couldn't fight again for a month. Because there were guys that were getting knocked out who were fighting days later on undercards. And so this is going to go down as the Tua rule. Man, is he polarizing. I mean, my good, every throw of his is analyzed, and it was underthrown by a yard. Oh, no, it looked like he was knocked out. He shouldn't be able to play. You know how many guys have suffered concussions in this league? And for whatever reason, it's Tua's concussion. I'm sorry, Mark, back injury.
Correct.
Right.
Neck and back injury.
It's Tua's back injury that finally forces this. This is remarkable. We are a fickle society, aren't we? Tua is the reason that the NFL and the NFLPA can finally put a common sense concussion policy together? Wait a minute. You mean if you're briefly knocked out, you shouldn't be allowed to return to the game? Well, that sounds reasonable. Shall we get into what the definition of a concussion is? You know, your brain. Silly me.
So I thought that was, obviously they played on Thursday, but to me, as the weekend was going on, the whole concussion protocol change, I thought was one of the overwhelmingly large stories of the weekend. And you're right, David. It's Tua.
Tua. It's unbelievable. It's Tua? Why do we get all worked up about Tua? Seriously. I find this whole thing fascinating. Is it because seemingly the league's never been bigger? Is it because we've had it on videotape before?
Were the morning news, David, I only had power for a short time. But the evening news and the morning news shows were showing the hit and playing it with controversial hit. Or playing after controversial hit. I mean, and then they're showing him stumbling the week before. I don't know. But all of a sudden, this crossed over into national newscast.
Right. Right. News divisions for networks that have deals with the NFL. And they were still going ahead and doing the story. But yes, and for those wondering, why fire the doctor? I mean, seriously? Come on. Somebody's got to be the fall guy here. Do you think it's going to be the league? Hell no. Okay, so that means it's one of two entities, the Dolphins or this one guy over here. I wasn't
the one guy over here got indignant when he was asked about it, which made it even easier for them to fire him.
Right. So, of course, somebody was going to be the fall guy. Now, I have to admit, I thought it was going to be the Dolphins because the Dolphins right now are not exactly on the good side of the league. The whole Stephen Ross, Brian Flores thing. And I wonder, Mark, if in fact that the Dolphins could still get penalized here. Now, maybe we're putting it all on this one guy. By the way, I want to know what his compensatory check is. You're fired. Here you go. Take this with you. Okay, here you go. Just don't say anything.
With the new setup that they have, I know what you're saying the Dolphins could be, but this is supposed to be the NFLPA. I think the Dolphins are getting their out here on this doctor.
Okay. All right. Because I thought there was a chance that the league might step in because, I mean, what league loves the grandstand, okay, for PR purposes, i.e. player safety? Mark, student athlete, player safety. Which expression is more ridiculous?
Player safety.
So
Player
what?
safety. Because,
Okay.
and I say that because there are a lot of student athletes out there, even though the phrase is a joke, there still are enough of them who actually care about their schooling, where when they say player safety, they know they're lying when they say the words.
Right. I mean, we're only saying it to avoid getting sued. I mean, that's the whole reason we came up with this phrase, ladies and gentlemen. And you're all still buying it, which is fantastic. Now, here's the problem. We actually had a legitimate issue, so now we have to take it seriously. So somebody's got to be fired. Who do y'all recommend? When the NFLPA went public on Friday, I figured, this might have legs. And I know the NFLPA, goes public, and that's their job. But I just thought, we brought it up with Pat even. He didn't know if it would have legs. The way we asked the question, we thought it might have legs. So it had enough legs that this guy had to go. Could we have all have agreed Tua should not have played Thursday? Short week. Okay. Well, he probably had a neck, back, and head injury from the previous Sunday. Isn't that why you signed Teddy Bridgewater?
Jameis was banged up. Andy Dalton played.
Right.
That's why you have backup quarterbacks.
Correct. Short week, too. Plus, he's your franchise quarterback. Take care of him. It's a game, for goodness sakes. One game. He's going to have a long career here, right? You don't mess with this. It's a short week. Maybe if it was a Sunday game, Monday game, he would have played. But it's a Thursday night game. Can't take the risk. We all would have understood. So I blame the Dolphins a little bit here, too. Now, of course, they're going to say the guy gave us clearance. That's why we need a new guy. He's got to go.
But the Dolphins certainly are going to be accused of rushing Tua back early at the very least.
But how about this? The rules have changed. The Tua rule. I mean, you got the Tuck rule and the Tua rule. Man, I didn't realize he was so important.
Miller and Moulton, the starting five coming up on the other side. It's the California edition. It's next on Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. We're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, it was an amazing Atlanta sports weekend. And Georgia escaped. Yep. Now, obviously, you're a Tech fan, so you don't care, but I'm just saying for Atlanta, it was an amazing weekend. Hey, all my fellow Mets fans out there, repeat after me. The Braves are better than the Mets.
Bring out the brooms.
Said it when they were up 10.5. When you line up your three best pitchers and you need one win and you can't get one, the other team's better.
Yep.
My favorite sign at game day at Clemson was that this is an Aaron Judge cut in.
Oh my goodness. College football fans are freaking
They don't
out.
like baseball. And you know,
Yeah.
they don't like New York.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of ridiculous.
College football fan was saying, listen, if we're watching the games that you're showing, we could give a rat's ass about Aaron Judge and the home run race, okay? Tim Brando went off on ESPN and the split screen. Oh, my goodness. Padres did make it. And it looks as if the Phillies are going to too because of the Marlins. That is true, Jeff. Unfortunately, you'll get them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Is there really a benefit of the Dish Network?
So what do we think the future of DirecTV and Dish is?
I don't know. I text Gentry yesterday just to see how he was doing. One of the people I forgot because I know he's got a lot of trees in his yard and stuff. So he just texts back this morning that he's good, going back and forth. And I said, let me know if you need help. So he said, are you good at fixing power poles? But he says, love you, brother. Will be good. Caught you guys on the air Friday. Sounding good. Horrible picks, though. Jets beat the Steelers. What the world are we living in? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounded good. Horrible picks. That could be a promo.
Could be a shirt. Wife already wants a whole house generator. Have one of those by next year.
Let me tell you something. Going forward, if you're selling a house, and particularly if you're building a development, how do you build a development and not include a generator in with your home? I mean, Mark, would you object as a buyer?
I don't think they'd ever. I think it would be a great add-on if I'm building a new neighborhood. But people wouldn't do it because they're $10,000 to $15,000.
I might have to re-in.
30 seconds. And by the way, if the Yankees game was on ESPN, I guess I would understand. But to pull the Yes Network broadcast, even like that's how serious it is for them. Come on.
Right. I have to laugh because they've been doing it on radio. Susan Waldman is hysterical right now with this whole thing because you got Sterling doing the pitch, And Waldman's like, oh, and now it's time for the stadium to get silent.
Coming back.
Let's get our cell phones and
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll have a poll question early next hour. Also, the Clutch Vodka play of the day. Jeff Cameron to join us in a little more than an hour's time from Tallahassee. Knowles suffer their first loss of the year and drop out of the rankings, too. Talk to Jeff about Florida State 5 games into this season. Let's get to it. Time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Mark. Since we're hockey guys, last night's Chiefs-Bucks game reminded me of the hockey game in which the one team was ready to go and the other team wasn't quite for the first 10 minutes. And they looked up and it was 3-0. Only in this case, the Bucks looked up and it was 21-3. Patrick Mahomes 3 touchdown passes. Chiefs led 21-3, 38-17 late third quarter. They cruised to a 41-31 win. KC's 3-1 on the season. Bucks dropped to 2-2. Brady had great stats: 373 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He did have a fumble. How about this pass to run ratio for Tampa Bay? 52-6.
not good. That's what happens when you get down big early.
Yep.
Because Kansas City had no problem running the football.
52 passes for Brady and the Bucks, 6 runs. Hello. Jacksonville gave Philly a game. In fact, they jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Bit of a monsoon in Philadelphia. That was the remnants of Ian. And Trevor Lawrence lost 4 fumbles. Tough to win that way. Eagles, the only unbeaten team in the league. They're 4-0, 29-21 over your first place Jags. They're in a tie with the Titans, but they have the tiebreaker. And Mark, no one is winless and no ties because the Raiders got off the schneid, as Chris Berman would say. They outclassed Denver 32-23. Las Vegas is 1-3. Next up for them, Monday Night Football in Kansas City. Broncos are 2-2. Scored their most points of the season. Man, do people hate their head coach. Man, oh man. Going after him with gusto. Whew.
Well, when you look at how all the first-year coaches are doing, not named him.
Chargers took care of business. They went into Houston, got up big on the Texans and cruised 34-24. Houston, the only winless team, but they do have a tie. They're 0-3-1. But right now, they would be on the clock.
They put it on cruise control for a little bit, though, because that came back to be a one-score game. They were up, 27-3 or whatever it was, ended up being 27-24 before they put them away. Thought the Chargers were going to go charging again.
Maybe the best game that London has seen the NFL produce. Vikings and Saints, which threw everyone, at least in the fantasy world, for a tizzy because out of nowhere, Alvin Kamara was scratched. So it was no Jameis, no Michael Thomas, no Alvin Kamara. And yet the Saints nearly won. But Will Lutz's 61-yard field goal went double doink. Hit the upright, hit the crossbar, bounded away. And so Minnesota survives 28-25. The Vikings are 3-1, and the Saints are off to a 1-3 start. Do you know next week in London, the Packers play the Giants?
Right.
It'll be the first time 2 winning teams will face one another in London. Wow.
Because the Jags always play there. What do you want me to tell you?
And the Bucks. And up until recently, they weren't any good either. Arizona rallied, took care of Carolina 26-16. Tell you what, is Matt Rule going to suffer the fate of these college coaches? They're 1-3. He's 1-1 on the 3-game homestand. If they don't win next week, I have a feeling he might get fired.
I think you're on to something.
I think he's got to go 2-1 on the homestand, get to 2-3, which would only be a game out of first in the division.
I mean, it is the Carolina Panthers. It's not the Wisconsin Badgers, but I still think you're on to something, David.
Yeah, but that owner's a little nuts, though. 26-16, Arizona Cardinals are 2-2. So are the Falcons and the Browns. Give it up to Atlanta. 2 late field goals, and they sneak one out against Cleveland, 23-20. That's a bad loss for the Browns. Atlanta rushed for 202 yards. They completed less than 10 passes and won that game. 202 yards rushing. I thought Cleveland was supposed to rectify that from last year. I thought they had $48 million in cap room. Ndamukong Suh's sitting at home. What the heck? I mean, are these organizations trying to win? Are they?
Well, with the Browns, we know what the answer is.
23-20 Atlanta. Give it up to the Falcons, who are 2-2. How about this? First place showdown next week in Atlanta when the Bucks play the Falcons. Is it in Atlanta? I think it's in Atlanta. If not, well, first mistake of the day. There'll be a lot more.
It's in Tampa. It's the first that's the first one of the day.
There you go. First place showdown, though. Bucks and Falcons.
That part you got right.
You all saw that one coming. Speaking of 23-20, Buffalo rallied from a 20-3 late second quarter deficit and beat the Ravens 23-20. Ravens had second and goal at the 1 with 5 minutes to go in the game. Couldn't get in. Fourth and goal from the 2. They, of course, kicked the field goal. Nope, went for it, threw an interception. Josh Allen drove all the way down. They kicked the short field goal at the gun to finally win a one-possession game. Bills are 3-1. Ravens are 2-2. The Giants are 3-1. Wow. They're not good. I saw that game. They are not good. The Bears are not good, and the Giants are not good. And combined, those two teams are 5-3. Whew. It's that non-conference scheduling, Mark. That's how I think both of them did it. Saquon Barkley did rush for 145 yards. He does look very good. Giants 20-12 over Chicago. Cowboys are 3-1. I'll tell you what, he wins a couple more. I mean,
Mike McCarthy said Dak Prescott's our quarterback, but again, did we trust Mike McCarthy to have the final decision on anything in the Dallas Cowboy organization?
We don't even know if Mike McCarthy gets to call timeouts. Cooper Rush is 3-0. He threw 2 touchdowns. Dallas 25-10 over Washington. Commanders are 1-3. Cowboys are 3-1. Give it up to Geno Smith and the Seahawks. They scored 48 points yesterday. They jumped up on Detroit early.
48 points and a bathroom break for DK Metcalf.
Yes. Did you see that, Mark?
I'm aware of it, but no, I didn't see anything yesterday.
So DK Metcalf apparently needed to use the boys' room. And so he took a cart. They drove him to the corner of the stadium in one of those carts, like when you blow out your knee.
Right.
Right. And when he was asked afterwards, well, why the cart? And he said, well, it got me there faster. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it.
When you got to go, you got to go.
Make a dadgum good point. 48-45, Seattle over Detroit. Seahawks are 2-2. And you know what, Mark? Remind me to never bet the Lions again.
Yeah, that's a great move. I will say I snuck to the car for a little bit to watch some Red Zone on the phone. And I don't know if it was Andrew Siciliano or if it was the radio, because I was listening to the radio Red Zone version. I was watched a little Red Zone. But the Metcalf thing, they actually reported for a brief time as DJ Metcalf taken off on a cart.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, so when it happened, they thought he was injured. They didn't think he had to go number 1 or number 2. They thought he was injured because he left on the cart. That's a part of that I think is the great bathroom mystery there is that how someone on the sideline didn't even say, no, he's not hurt.
Right. Well, once again, does that, by the way, fit the definition? Hey, what's up with DK? Okay, I don't know. He's questionable to return.
There you go.
Mark, I'm wrong about a lot, but the Titans are better than the Colts. Okay?
Yes, they are, David.
Can we just end this Indianapolis Colts thing? Okay. 24-17 Tennessee over Indy in Indy. By the way, Jonathan Taylor, he had 40 yards rushing. Derrick Henry, well over 100 yards rushing.
King.
When in doubt, you go with the Titans in the AFC South. The Steelers are 1-3, and it may be Kenny Pickett time. He did technically throw 3 interceptions, though. The final one was a Hail Mary and what have you. The first 2 were costly. But he came in and placed at Trubisky, and they were trailing at the half. He led them to a 10-point lead, only to have Zach Wilson and the Jets due to the Steelers with Joe Flacco and the Jets did the Browns. 2 late touchdowns. The Jets win in Pittsburgh, where they had only won once before in their last 50 years. Once in 50 years. 24-20 Jets. Steelers are 1-3.
They don't care. They got the guy they want playing quarterback now. Happened certain, I'm just telling you, the fan base is ecstatic. He ran for 2, and they think it's the greatest thing ever. Watched 5 minutes of that game yesterday.
Aaron Rodgers outdueled Bailey Zappi, barely.
Barely.
Zappi came in relief, played really well. Rodgers caught him at the end of regulation, beat him in overtime, 27-24. Patriots fall to 1-3. Mason Crosby, the game-winning field goal as time expired in overtime. College football, Wisconsin fired Paul Chryst, $16 million buyout. Badgers are 2-3 this year, 67-26. 67-26. Better winning percentage than Barry Alvarez. Jim Leonard will take over as interim head coach. Colorado fired head coach Carl Durrell. They were 0-5 this year, nearly a $9 million buyout. Not only were they 0-5, their closest loss was 23 points. Gators had 666 total yards of offense in just 50 plays. Beat Eastern Washington yesterday. Yes, that's right. They played on Sunday, 52-17. Bama replaces Georgia. Number 1 in both polls. Close. Kansas is ranked in both polls. 19th in the AP, 17th in the coaches. Not a single Florida school ranked in the top 25 as the Noles dropped out after losing to Wake. Tampa Bay, game and a half back of Seattle for the 5 seed, but the Rays are in the playoffs. They lost 2 of 3 to Houston, 3-1. Seattle lost to Oakland. Toronto's all but wrapped up the 4 seed mark. They doubled up Boston, swept them 6-3. The Marlins have dramatically influenced the playoff race in the National League. They beat the Brewers Saturday and Sunday by 4-3 scores both days. And because of it, instead of the Brewers being tied with the Phillies magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 1. Phillies won yesterday 8-1. Braves swept the Mets. Mets lined up their 3 best pitchers, and Atlanta said, that's cute, and swept them 5-3 the final yesterday. The Braves have all but won the East. Judge still at 61 homers, by the way. Yankees.
We all know. They cut in every time he's at the plate.
He's also hitting just .311. He's 4 points back for the batting title in the Triple Crown. Albert Pujols hit number 702 yesterday, and then the manager went out and removed Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, and Albert Pujols all at the same time in the last Cardinals home game of the year. 702 for Pujols. Cubs and Angels, by the way, have both won 7 straight. NASCAR, Chase Elliott, a winner at Talladega. NBA, Tyler Hero, who's all of 22 years old, signed a 4-year, $130 million extension. PGA Tour, Mackenzie Hughes wins a playoff over Seb Straka. And LPGA, Charlie Hull shot a pair of 64s in winning the VOA, the Volunteers of America in Texas, by 1. And at 7 minutes before the hour, gentlemen, that was
the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
To review, the Braves are better than the Mets.
Thank you.
The Titans are better than the Colts.
Thank you.
I mean, if I were to take two things from a lot of information in that,
Right.
those are the two main keys to that starting five to me.
And the third one is buyouts don't matter anymore at all.
No, they don't.
And neither does loyalty.
Well, that hasn't mattered in a while.
That's true.
It really hasn't. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. What do we want for the clutch play of the day?
I will say the one Mahomes touchdown yesterday where it was like right out of a video game.
The Vikings' call of the missed field goal is really good.
Okay. It's Paul Allen.
If you can find Paul Allen's Vikings, I guess the field goal in the Saints game that missed.
The double doink at the end.
Double doink.
Morning, Dandy.
Part of the world you coming from today, Dandy? Where are you? Portugal?
Istanbul, where are you? So what are we thinking for a poll question? Do you have power? No?
No, because I think most people watching have power.
No.
More annoying. Wink News' coverage of the hurricane or the Aaron Judge cut-ins?
Dandy,
you're in Croatia. Okay.
Are you really in Croatia? Holy blank.
Could you adopt me, please?
Yeah, I'm going with the bigger entity. Poll question.
30 seconds.
Danny Cannell's poll question. I just smart aleck had to answer the other way. Let's do an exercise. Two teams have an identical record. Team A beats Team B. Team B loses to Team A. Who should be ranked higher?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
2 of Miller and Moulton on this Monday, the first such day in October. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll head to Tallahassee in an hour. Check in on, we'll check in with the longtime friend of the show, Jeff Cameron, and we'll talk a little Knowles, who, Mark, see, they beat LSU, and they have the same record as LSU, but LSU is ranked, and they're not. There's a lot of that goes on in college football and basketball.
There is.
It's called the polls. They're subjective.
They are.
They're a mess.
They are that as well. And they shouldn't matter, but yet they still, in a way, matter a bit.
Yeah, fans care. They do. They do. You and I don't. They do. Here's the one question that I have, though, going forward. When we go to 12, I mean, some semblance of polling is going to figure out who all gets in the tourney.
Well, there you go. And usually we're lucky enough that these things play themselves out over the course of the season and polls don't matter. But a team Put it this way. Team like Penn State that started the season unranked doesn't get the benefit of any doubt when they win games. Whereas Michigan, on the other hand, will get a little bit more of a benefit of a doubt because they started ranked 4 or 5 or wherever it was they started. And that has always bothered me. And that's why I continue to pay attention to rankings and continue to get bothered by rankings, because they miss. They miss on really good teams every year.
Bama's the new number 1 for the record. Close in both polls. I believe the difference in the AP poll is 2 points, which obviously tough to get much closer. Georgia's 2, Ohio State 3, Michigan 4, Clemson 5, USC 6, Oklahoma State, who went into Waco and got a little payback for the Big 12 title game. Cowboys are 7, Tennessee is 8, Ole Miss is 9, Penn State is 10.
And good for Ole Miss to get a top 10 ranking. They hung on against Kentucky, a couple of really good defensive plays, forcing Kentucky fumbles to do so. Kentucky did everything they could do to give that game away in Oxford on Saturday.
Yeah, so did Lane Kiffin. You know, we're all over John Harbaugh for not kicking a field goal. He's another one, up 3 with about 9 minutes to go. They got 4th and goal from just inside the 5 to go up 6, and he goes for it. They turn it over on downs. Kentucky methodically drives it inside the 10 before fumbling. But, I mean, if Kentucky pounds that sucker in the end zone, they're down 4. And I could see if you're a Rebel fan, in which you're a little annoyed with your head coach. Man, everybody going for it all the damn time.
I'm telling you, Adam Sandler had that funny video years and years ago, The Loneliest Kicker, about the guy missing the field goal. The guy now on the football field that's lonely is the damn punter. I mean, we used to think that the backup QB job was the cake job. Now it's the punter. They don't even use these guys anymore, David.
And they're trying really hard not to use the field goal kickers either. I mean, what's wrong with 10 minutes to go going up 6? Yeah, if they score, they could take the lead, but then you could win the game with a field goal.
This just in, at the end of games, when teams' defenses have been out there for 65, 70, 75 plays, it's seemingly, and David, correct me if I'm wrong because you're a lot closer to the action on Saturday than I am, but it's seemingly when you get to these high number of plays, defenses have a tough time stopping the opposition at the end of games.
My line of demarcation, Mark, is 50. You can really draw a line at 50 plays on Sundays. Saturdays, 55-ish. But on Sundays, it's 50. You just draw the line right down the middle of the paper. Once defenses hit 50, they're tanked. So, analytics is run amok in football. Run amok. For all the complaining that we've done about baseball and all they're trying to do is hit home runs, let me tell you, in football, a field goal, I'd rather lose the game than kick a field goal. You know why? The analytics are on my side.
But the difference is, David, from the fan standpoint, in baseball, we get home runs or what? Strikeouts. Strikeouts are boring no matter. I mean, the ball's not in play. It's not exciting. There's just no two ways about it. David, going for it on 4th down is more exciting than kicking a field goal. It just is.
It may be more exciting.
That's why we're not going nuts about the analytics of football.
I know. We just need a few more teams to lose games, Mark. That's all. Just need a few more teams to lose games and have their fan bases have to watch their coach afterwards go, and I quote, well, the analytics, ... And that will start to soon, I believe, once fans hear analytics. Like those comedy bits in which if you say something, they zap you. Okay, that's what I think is going to start to happen when fans hear their head coach go, well, the analytics, Well, you see, if you look at the analytics, that's what I think is going to start to happen.
Well, I would love for you to be right. I think you'll be wrong. Cattle prod or not.
Yink.
Nying.
Nyink.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Niet. That's Cold War. Okay.
Nying. Or
This is right. This is an electric shock. Nyink. Not to be confused with Niet.
It's good to know.
Are you guys okay?
The analytics will do that to you, Felipe. They will definitely do that to you.
I see.
Hey, can we play the old if the playoffs started today game?
Sure.
Listen, I don't want to say it's messed up or anything, but 3 teams from the NFC East would make the playoffs. Unbelievable. We all know that's not going to happen. Because if so, the Giants would be the worst playoff team maybe in the history of the league. Minnesota would technically win the North. Their same record. They beat them.
Right.
Green Bay would be a wild card. Tampa Bay is technically the first place team in the South over Atlanta, but they are tied. And the Rams, because they've played one less game, they're 2-1. And Arizona and Seattle are 2-2. So heading into tonight's Monday Night Football game, where if the home team wins, the entire division's 2-2. But Mark, right now the 7 playoff teams in the NFC, 3 from the East: Vikings, Packers, Bucks, Rams. AFC. See, in the NFC, it's easy, Mark. All 7 of those teams that I mentioned only have a 1 in the loss column.
Right.
You only got 3 of those teams in the entire AFC: Miami, Buffalo, and Kansas City. So Miami is obviously the division champ as of today because they beat the Bills. Cleveland is technically the first place team in the North. That has to do with division record. And
so their win against the Steelers is what's holding them up against everybody else right now.
Correct. Cleveland, but Cincinnati is technically a wild card.
Right.
But it's just a convoluted mess in the AFC. You got 8 teams that are 2-2. So, Jacksonville is technically the first place team in the South. Tennessee would make the playoffs as a wild card. And only one playoff team from the AFC West right now. And, well, that's the team that's owned that division for over a half dozen years. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's the old if the playoffs started today, Mark. We could also do the same thing in baseball, where the Rays are technically the 6th seed right now. They play a 3-game series in Cleveland starting Friday. So there you have it.
And you talked about this in baseball all along. You almost get a little bit of a break being the 6th seed because you're playing a division champ that may not be as good as Toronto.
And is the weakest division champ. And then if you win, they don't reseed. So you would play the 2 seed, not the 1. So, I mean, I could make the case it's better to be the 6th than the 5. Because the 5 seed has to beat the best wild card team. And then if they win, they got to play the best team in their respective league. So, but Yankees, Cleveland, Houston, your division champs. Atlanta's magic number's 1, so they've won the East. Atlanta, St. Louis, and the Dodgers. By the way, Mark, the Dodgers lost yesterday, so their record fell to 110-49. They're a mere 61 games above 500. 61.
And it will all be forgotten if they don't win the World Series.
Got that right.
That's all there is to it.
Yep.
As great of a regular season as it's been, others have done it and have crumbled in the postseason. And if you look at what the Dodgers will have to play, no guarantees they even get out of the National League.
New playoff format in baseball this year. It's a first-round best of 3. The teams with the better records host all 3 games. Cleveland is a division champ right now, would host the Rays in a 3-6 matchup. Toronto would host Seattle in a 4-5 matchup. Winner of Cleveland Tampa Bay plays the Yankees. Winner of Toronto Seattle plays Houston. National League, Mets are the 4. Right now they would host San Diego. Winner to play the Dodgers. And Cardinals would host the Phillies as of right now in a 3-6. Phillies' magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 1.
So there's a little bit in the baseball world. We've got our Clutch Vodka play of the day coming up. We promise we will have a poll question on their side. We've got to come up with something. All my poll questions have been snarky. I'm going to get serious about it this break and actually have a sports question to get up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I knew something was going on. All right. We're trying to eliminate snark these days, and for good reason. Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
End over end. Plenty of leg again. Double doink. He missed it. Double doink. Double doink.
Paul Allen was the one when Favre threw the interception in the NFC Championship game. He just said, "Oh, for goodness sakes!" And the play's still going on. And when I can't believe what I just saw. Unbelievable. Should we ask whether or not we should keep the college polls?
Bigger hypocrisy. Handling of the Tua concussion, college collegiate football polls.
Wow.
What's driving you more nuts about this season? Everybody going for it on fourth down? Or do you like all the teams going for it on fourth down? Do we go analytics?
I'm fine with it.
How do we word it?
Yeah. Football coaches are making key decisions based on analytics. Do you, A, like it? B, ignores common sense?
Football coaches are making more decisions based on analytics. Do you like it? That
Yeah.
and then yes, then no, it lacks common sense.
By the way, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not a big fan of the slogans right now. I think Ian's way too massive for a slogan. Not trying to be a jerk.
Good luck, Albar.
Good luck, Albar.
Ten seconds.
Depends on the situation, Adam.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Jeff Cameron will join us from Tallahassee at the top of the hour. Knowles lost their first game of the year. Schedule got a lot harder come October. Started with Wake Forest at home, NC State. Clemson's coming up. Oh, boy. So we'll talk to Jeff Cameron about the Knowles and where they are 5 games in to the season. Mark, this is a segment where we got to get stuff done.
Well, you're right. And we try to get stuff done earlier in the show, but we neglected the poll question once again. It is it's the Achilles heel of this show. That and picking games.
Well, just what's bigger than a heel? Man. It's the Achilles Rhode Island right now of the show. Man. Whoo. Once again, we went the other way. Although Mark Miller with a winning week.
No. It was a 2-2-1 week.
Oh, I gave you the win.
I'd take it, but I did look down. I had the Vikings at -3.
Gotcha. All right. I thought it was 2.5, but all right.
I won't
Fine.
take it.
Look at you. Honor and a gentleman. How about that?
But our poll question today is football coaches are making more decisions based on analytics. Do you like it? It's that simple. Yes, I do.
No.
No, it lacks common sense.
No. And I like analytics. I'm glad that they're considering certain things that they never would have considered in the past. I just think that they're now running amok Lane Kiffin, 4th and goal from just inside the 5. Chip shot field goal, up 3 with 10 minutes to go. Went for it. Why? Well, the analytics. Well, then the analytics are wrong.
And I understand the analytics say that if you score a touchdown here, your percentage of winning is 99.9. Great. If you don't score a touchdown, what does it say? These all seem to be working from the standpoint of success. And I know coaches always talk about, I like the fact that coaches are trying to go for the successful conclusion, but at some point, going up 6 in a game is important.
So, for those that have heard Gary Danielson on this show over the years, Gary is many things, and one of them is self-deprecating. All right, Gary's proud of his 13-year career in the NFL, but Gary knew that he was a decent, pretty good quarterback, but was not a great quarterback. He knew that. In fact, he told the story on this show once in which he gave a pregame speech in San Diego. And the Lions were playing the Chargers. And he said, guys, you're going to have to play your you-know-what off today. And they were looking at him. And he said, because they have Dan Fouts and you don't. I mean, that's funny. That's funny. Okay. And so,
what's interesting? I was a kid and called a radio show when Gary was the quarterback, and I think it was that week, and I wanted to trade our entire offense for the Chargers' entire offense. This is when they had Billy Sims, and we're pretty good.
Right. Yes. They had a 4-year run there, 80 through 83, in which I think they made the playoffs 3 times or had 3 winning records. Yeah.
So even a young Mark Miller wanted to trade Gary Danielson back then.
Well, you knew Fouts and company. I mean, Winslow, Jefferson. I mean, you recognize talent, but, and I know Gary told this story on the show one time too, in which somebody was having an analytic discussion, and he said, I just have one question. Is the quarterback Danielson or Peyton Manning? When you're figuring out these numbers, I mean, come on now. You have to take certain variables into the equation. And I just, the whole random, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 simulations. Yeah, okay. It's pouring. All right. We haven't scored in an hour and a half. I mean, these things matter. This simulation doesn't have any of that. That's my problem with analytics. It's like baseball, Mark. The front office is setting the lineups and, the moves and this, that, and the other thing. David Sampson told the story on this show in which in Game 6 of the World Series in 2003, Jack McKeon was the manager. He had control of the lineup. And David Sampson in the front office was like, don't pitch Josh Beckett on 3 days rest. Save him for Game 7 when he's fully rested. We'll pitch so-and-so or so-and-so here in Game 6. And Jack McKeon looked at them and said, he's our best damn pitcher. I'm giving him the ball. And he went out and threw a 4-hit shutout. They won the World Series on 3 days rest.
Right. And David Sampson, would have never started him.
Right. And Sampson acknowledges, I was wrong. Okay. And that's the difference, right there. That's an example between a manager knowing his guys, trusting his gut, that sort of deal versus, information on a piece of paper.
And, to make a call like that, I mean, I think you have to be really clutch,
We got it, Felipe.
Oh, sorry.
We got it. Okay. At some point.
I'm trying here, okay?
How about raising your hand?
We'll do that from now on.
How about just raising your hand?
I'll raise my hand.
Because the other thing, Kevin Cash has the same question to answer with Snell and not in pulling him. Kevin Cash didn't have control. He had to go with what the analytics said, and we all know how that worked out for the Rays.
Not clutch.
No.
With a K or a C.
That was more of a choke with a C. But this was clutch for the Vikings. We go across the pond for our clutch play of the day.
Clutch, end over end, plenty of leg again. Double doink, he missed it. Double doink, and the Saints can go marching out. The final score: the Minnesota Vikings 28, the New Orleans Saints 25.
The Saints can go marching out. Wow. It's Paul Allen, K-fan.
It's a great call. Heard that yesterday. So that's got to be our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Anytime you can go double doink.
Hit the left crossbar or left upright, then hit the crossbar, and then bounded down to the field. Double doink. He had made a 60-yarder moments earlier to tie it. Then the Vikings score with like 24 seconds left. Take a 3-point lead. They figure that's good. Couple passes, and he's lining up a 61-yarder.
And had the leg and double doinked it.
Sounds painful. What happened? Double doink.
Better take some penicillin for that.
Darn right, especially before you get on the plane and fly back across the pond.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, sir. We can't let you travel. Why? Double doink.
Double doink. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. That's Clutch with a K. And remember, they're having their Dolphin watch parties at Seaside in Bonita Springs for every Dolphin game. Clutch Vodka. Check them out. And then put all your stuff online with Clutch Spirits. Hashtag Clutch Spirits on Instagram and follow them there.
So the poll question officially, analytics, are you in or are you out?
Basically, that's it.
And I like the concept of analytics. I do. I just think that the football coaches are just going too far. Going crazy.
And they did it over the weekend, but Ole Miss survives trying to do the over analytics. They are now a top 10 team, David.
But the Ravens did not. See, that's the whole other side of that analytics thing that you were referencing.
Miller and Moulton, trusting analytics. Sometimes, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Heidi, I think he said that one of his cars suffered some damage. I have seen the new Kraken mascot. Forsland did a funny bit with him. Hey, Felipe.
He walked away.
Gotcha.
I did not realize. I'm still stunned that they're at. I thought they figured out something upstairs at Wink, that they're at the transmitter, which means they're going to be there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to do here? We'll go through the NFL games, go through the just kind of,
Yeah,
because we got Cameron next.
Yep. The Paul Chris firing. Holy mackerel.
See what happens when you lose to the Fighting Bielamas?
By 24.
It's such a con job, too, because they literally could win the rest of their games till they play Minnesota now.
Well, heck, technically Nebraska's tied for first. I mean, everybody on that side's 1-1 except who? Wisconsin?
10 seconds.
Yeah, they're 0-2.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Jeff Cameron, talk a little Florida State. He will join us coming up at the top of the hour. Want to go through these games?
Yeah,
Bucks got whooped last night.
they really did. And as you know, Brady's going to have great numbers, or Brady had great numbers, but to me, it was just how easily Kansas City was able to attack Tampa. For as good as we thought this Bucs defense was, David, you know,
Right.
they ran the ball for well over 100 yards, and they were averaging about 4.5 yards a carry when they ran the ball. They took a lot of pressure off Mahomes because they were able to run the football. And you're not supposed to be able to do that against Tampa.
Mark, it's almost like they were especially motivated for the game. Like maybe they had lost a big game to this team in that stadium once before. I'm just saying. Yeah, game not as close as the final score of 41-31. And yeah, back to reality for the Bucs defense, huh? Whew.
It is, but here they are 2-2, kind of, you know, David, they're about where we thought they'd be after 4 games.
Well, we said at the beginning of the year, hey, if you're a Bucs fan, would you take 2-2? And most Bucs fans are like, no, we have Brady. I wouldn't settle for 2-2. But we went through the schedule. I mean, at Dallas, by the way, Cowboys only lost Tampa week 1. And then, you know, they just had Green Bay and Kansas City back to back. And you went into New Orleans and won. Let's be honest. You're 2-2. You got the one you really wanted.
No doubt. Now, you don't hold the tiebreaker with Green Bay, which
all right,
can prove to be problematic when the postseason comes around.
We'll
You got the one in the division, and that's the most important one.
And by the way, a division that right now looks even shakier than we thought. We didn't have a whole lot of for Atlanta and Carolina. And Atlanta is actually 2-2 tied with the Bucs, but the Saints 1-3. Oh boy. Oh boy. Right now you got to have just one loss to make the playoffs in the NFC, except for the South Division. Who'd have thunk it? Jacksonville, Philadelphia. Interesting game. Tell you what, man, the Eagles, 400-plus yards of offense in all 4 games this year. That's impressive. They're 4-0. That's impressive. And they overcame a 14-0 deficit.
There you go, David. There you go. The first real adversity they've had to face this year, and they had no problem with it. Of all the things in that game, and I didn't expect Philly to just curl up in a ball and surrender being down 14-0, but it's an impressive win when you've got to come from 2 scores back in a football game. So I was really impressed with the Eagles because the Jags defense is good.
Yeah, scored in the game. Yep. But they wore him out. Trevor Lawrence had trouble with the rain. 4 fumbles. Oh boy. Oh boy. I give it up to the Eagles fans, by the way. Very nice greeting for Doug Peterson. I'd like to think so. You've won 1 Super Bowl. He was your coach. It was just 5 years ago. I'd like to think, you know, that you're not the Florida Gators and he's Urban Meyer. You know, I mean, I'd like to think that.
But it is the Philadelphia fan base, and you didn't know what to expect, David.
Right. And they gave him a very nice ovation when he walked out onto the field. Did you see what Jason Kelsey did after the game?
I did not.
You know, the thing taking after soccer in the last 5 years, basketball, football, even to some degree hockey, they do the exchange of the jerseys, which I have to admit, it's probably the best thing that soccer has added to the North American sports culture. I mean, I love it.
He isn't diving.
No. But, you know, Jason Kelsey walks over to his former coach, Doug Peterson, there, and he says to him, hey, give me your jacket. Okay, because he had kind of, like a, I don't know, like a half jacket type
Right.
thing. And so Kelsey goes, I'll give you a jersey later, okay, when I can actually get this thing off. But you give me your jacket. So Peterson takes the jacket off and hands it to him
Very
after
cool.
the game as
Very
a sign
cool.
of respect. What do you make of the Bills Ravens? Baltimore jumped out 20-3. Buffalo held on, got back in it, and ended up winning it.
You know what? I give a lot to the Bills in this game. 1 for the comeback. 2, they won a close game. 3, late drive to do it. I think it's an impressive win, and they stole one. Because if this ends up the way it was looking, David, now all of a sudden the Bills have lost a couple of games. They maybe would lose another close game in this one, and we would start picking at the Bills and where there may be holes. I think it was a huge win for not playing their best football. I think there are things they obviously are going to have to fix, but I thought it was a monster win for the Bills, David.
Ravens at 2nd and goal at the 1. Tied at 20 with a little over 5 minutes to go. Couldn't pound it in. Stopped on 2nd, stopped on 3rd, 4th and goal at the 2. Harbaugh kicked it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He went for it. Lamar threw a pick. Buffalo then systematically took it down, kicked a field goal to win the game at the buzzer. How about the Browns losing in Atlanta? And it was a homecoming for Chubb, the former Georgia standout. He had his family there, and, he had another good game and had a speedy touchdown run off the left side around the corner. But Browns couldn't hold a late lead, Mark, against the Falcons.
It's the Falcons and the Jets they've now lost to. Wow.
Give it up to the Jets. They'd gone into Pittsburgh once in their history, or at least in the last 50 years since the Steelers got good. Once in 50-plus years, they'd gone to Pittsburgh and won. Make it twice. And I'm not a huge fan. He looked pretty good in the fourth quarter, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson and the Jets looked good. That's a good defense. I think it was a little worn out, but that's a good defense. And Zach Wilson and company made plays, and they beat him.
And I think, obviously the big story is Pickett playing for Pittsburgh. But what's more interesting is that it blindsided everybody in Pittsburgh. He didn't get first-team reps this week. He didn't, it's basically at halftime, Tomlin says we need a spark, and we're putting Pickett in. It is not how the Steelers normally operate. And David, you can't go back from this. Can you?
Well, see, I'm different than most people. I think you can. I think it's like you can pull your ace starter when he just doesn't have it. All right.
And David, I'm with you. And I 100% agree with you when you're putting Teddy Bridgewater in, when you're putting Andy Dalton in. But when you go to the rookie, that's the future, and then you bench him after, can you still, with the rookie, can you still have the same philosophy, I guess is what I would ask you, David.
Maybe not. Maybe not. And it is true that you're not pulling you're not bringing Don Strock into the game back in the day if you're the Dolphins. You're not bringing Frank Reich into the game for Jim Kelly back in the day if you're the Bills. You're right. It's a little different when you bring in the first-round pick. And, he had the good, the bad, and the ugly. It did Pickett. He's 10 of 13 throwing the ball, but all 3 incompletions were picks. And the one, when they were leading late, all right, was very costly. But then again, they were losing when they put him into the game, and he led them on 2 scores. The Titans went into Indy and beat the Colts.
And forevermore, you're no longer allowed to talk about the Indianapolis Colts in that division. That's basically what the conclusion is here. You want to say the Jags are going to go win the division? Fine. You might be a little off kilter with that one, but I'm not going to argue with you. What I am going to point out is people have picked the Colts to win that division. And when they do that, they're an idiot. And I'm speaking about myself here.
In 4 weeks, Indy goes to Nashville. It's the season. They either need to even this score, or I don't ever want to hear anybody on this show Okay. Bray from Indy in our Twitch chat room. Sorry. Not allowed to bring him up. What the heck happened in Detroit yesterday? 93 points got scored. This isn't a MAC game. This isn't a Tuesday in November where we got MACtion on the deuce. It's 48-45. This is the National Football League. What happened?
By the way, that's the first time an NFL game finished with a final score of 40.
Yes,
45.
that's right. You know, I
little scoregami there.
There you go. 48-45. Seahawks are 2-2, and the Lions are still the Lions.
They still are.
1
Yes,
and 3.
they are.
Last place.
Geno Smith threw for 320. Perry ran for $150. It's embarrassing to give up that many yards to a team that's not that good.
Vegas got their first win. They go to Kansas City a week from tonight. They did score 32. They got off the schneid. Denver 2-2. Their head coach, man, is he getting it from all places, including the sidelines. Hey, how about the Cowboys? They're 3-1. Dak gets hurt. They've done nothing but win.
It's so fascinating, David. When Dak's there, television shows, the talking heads, the four-letter network, they can't talk Cowboys enough. Dak goes out, Cooper Rush comes in, leads them to 3 straight wins, and it's like the Cowboys are on the witness protection program.
He's the first Cowboys quarterback in Cowboys history to win his first 4 starts.
Because he won in relief last year in Minnesota.
Yep.
My hope, Mark, and by the way, the Cowboys did a little rope-a-dope yesterday. I mean, Washington ran like 15 more plays than did the Cowboys. And not only that, the Cowboys won running for 62 yards. Washington ran for $142. I mean, the difference was Cowboys were +2 in turnovers. The defense is doing it again. I don't know if he's a head coach. I think he is because he nearly won the Super Bowl. But Dan Quinn's a hell of a defensive coordinator.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
We talked about the Vikings beating the Saints in the double doink. And Dennis Allen, second go-around as a head coach, and the Saints are 1-3. Dude, you got a better roster than this. Figure it out. Just like Josh McDaniels in Vegas. Hey, you got a second crack at it, dude. This team won 10 games and went to the playoffs last year. You're 1-3. Come on now. Arizona beat Carolina. Kyler Murray outplayed Baker Mayfield. The Baker thing's not working.
At all.
I mean,
not even close. They don't look good. They're not playing well offensively. This is a bad football team right now. You mentioned earlier you think if they will lose next week that Rule could be fired. Everything about this is going the wrong way for Carolina, David. Every single part of it.
The Chargers, before they kind of fell asleep in the fourth quarter, they took care of Houston 34-24 to get back to 2-2.
No, it's kind of like they did the first hour and 20 minutes of the show, then took the next 40 minutes off, and then came back and finished it. That's what I thought of the Chargers.
I have a feeling we're going to see Bailey Zappi for the next month while Mac Jones is hurt. Because he played really well in relief, and he had a really good preseason for the Patriots. They lost to the Packers in overtime, but still. Things you never thought you'd be doing for your fantasy team, Mark, is picking up Bailey Zappi as a short-term quarterback.
You might have won a lot of money on DFS. He played decently enough that you could have a pretty good roster around him.
If I give you over under 6.5 on the Giants and they're 3-1, which way are you going?
Without looking at their schedule, 6.5?
6.5.
I think I'd go under.
That's what I'm talking. By the way, Packers, Ravens, Jags, Seahawks, Texans, Lions.
They're
Cowboys,
not a good football
Commanders.
team. Barkley's running his tail off.
He is. Had $145 yesterday. So they got the Texans, they got the Lions, but there you go. That's how much we don't believe in either one of those two teams who combined are 5-3. So pretty much covers it.
Little rundown of the NFL. We will switch gears and go to Tallahassee next. Jeff Cameron, the Jeff Cameron Show, to talk about the Noles and Wake Forest, and the Noles suffering their first loss of the season. That coming up on the other side. We thank you so very much for listening. We are Miller and Moulton, and you're listening to us exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have
Leap back.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Jeff, they can't outscore anybody. I mean, what's the most points they've scored in a game this year? 21? I mean, they've scored 21, 19, 16, and 20. And they're averaging 19 points a game.
I will say is it Rob Dunn from NBC, David?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's way too serious. He was way too melodramatic in the days out, like when it wasn't whether you've got to stop four-way stop. Just his voice. It's like, come on, dude. You sound really depressing all the time.
Well, that voice is so deep.
Okay, I might have to reboot the phone system once again here really quick. So
Okay, do it.
I'm gonna call him really quick and let him know.
Well, boot the phone system first.
How did we not know this before 8 o'clock?
Because we didn't test the phone system up before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we're coming back.
Are we coming back with a guest or no?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. To the many of you who may just be stumbling back listening to us on this day after everything that you have endured, if there is any way we could help, we would gladly do so, even if it's just passing the word to someone or an agency or what have you. The airport is reopening as of Wednesday, and those in Lee and Charlotte counties have been told 95% of you will get power back by the weekend. And I know that that's an unbelievably long time.
And David, this is, I want everybody to understand this is, I know there are much bigger problems out there, but I was lucky. On Friday, we got power back. Sometime Friday afternoon. And it was like, holy blank, we got power back. I mean, I did a tiger fist pump when the power came on.
Sure.
I mean, the wife was doing dishes. I was in the kitchen. And I mean, the power came on. I gave it a full 25-foot birdie putt tiger fist pump.
Right, for the lead. Right.
And so we go through Friday night. One of our air conditioners wasn't working. So I got that fixed. I'm thinking, I'm back, baby. I got AC. I got the TV set up. I got college football on Saturday. I get through the noon games watching college football, although one of the stations decided they didn't put college football on and remain running news. So I've got my 4 games. I'm loving it. I get to the 3:30 window. I've got 4 more games. And then at about 6:45 on Saturday evening, the power went out, David. It has not yet returned. And that little taste was so nice that you feel a little deflated losing. And again, I want everybody to understand, I know there are much bigger problems out there, but that little tease, just that little taste of it, then they took it away. So hopefully for me and for lots of others around here, it's sooner than later that we get power restored in Southwest Florida. So I know how everyone is feeling without power, hearing the generators running throughout Southwest Florida, and I'm sure in some places they'll be running for a while.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. And to everyone out there who is still suffering, we don't like to offer thoughts and prayers because it sounds a little too cliche. But the best that we can offer, we are certainly offering it. And we realize that there's not much that we can do. What we've heard Friday and today is just being on the air. And once again, I don't want to use the phrase normal or normalcy because that's way overstating it. But maybe just something in the usual routine. I mean, goodness knows our picks are not comforting, but maybe just our voices.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance we should have ended that segment on Friday, but you said, no, we can't do it. This is how we roll.
Well, because we're money. Now we're just money going the other way. Especially me. Man, I have never sucked this much.
Well, it really hurt you when you decided to, when Katie barred the door and then you just decided to let it rip with a bunch of picks and had a 1 for week.
Yeah, I had 2 good weeks back to back, and I'm like, I got this thing figured out. We're basically back to 500 after, so I had a bad week 1. No big deal. And then over. What the heck? Over. I was like that 3-point shooter. I kept shooting, though. I'm like, what do you mean they're not going in? They're going to go in. No, actually, they're not.
He's a chucker. No matter how you slice it, we're going to keep putting it up. We're going to keep getting out there trying to make things happen.
Hopefully we'll catch up with Jeff Cameron a little bit later on, having trouble with the phone system, which in the grand scheme of things, well, we probably should have anticipated. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Can I just read you this little ditty about Paul Christ? Paul Christ was, until yesterday, the Wisconsin football coach. He is a native of Madison, Wisconsin. Mark, do you know where the University of Wisconsin is located?
Hang on, let me see. I believe it's in the state capital, which is Madison.
Okay. Paul Christ is a Madison native, and he's an alum of the University of Wisconsin. He is 56 years old. He has spent 33 of those years living in Madison, either as a kid, a Wisconsin quarterback, or a Wisconsin coach in some way, shape, or form. His record is 67-26. That's over 70%. That would seem to be pretty good, right?
Yes, it would, David.
I mean, his average season looks to be around 9-3. Oh, okay. Mark, he's 43-18 in the Big Ten. Once again, seems to be pretty good.
And David, if I've got this right, I want to go because he's coached 8 years, okay? And part of that, he had a bad with this record. He had a bad COVID year. They went 4-3. So last year he went 9-4. The year before COVID year, 4-3. Then he had a 10-win season, an 8-win season, a 13-win season, an 11-win season, a 10-win season, and an 11-win season. I mean, it's double, and I know it averages out to 9, but basically this guy's been getting you double digits every year he's been there, David.
Mark, he's won the Big Ten West 3 times. He won 2 New Year's Six Bowls. And he was a 2-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. But Brett Bielema in Illinois came to town on Saturday and whooped them 34-10. And they're 2-3, 0-2 in the Big Ten. And apparently, well, he can't coach anymore. And he needs to be replaced, and he needs to be replaced immediately. Well, hold on a second. If you replace him immediately, it's going to cost you $16 million. That's okay.
We've got it. I don't know if you just saw the latest television contracts. We're swimming in money. We've never had this much money.
I mean, $16 million. Who cares? I mean, really. It's money. We have it. all that stuff that we tell you about, it costs so much money and women's sports and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, it's crap. It's absolute garbage. How many games they win last year?
Double digits, David. Double digits.
They're 2-3. They're off to a rough start.
Or I'm sorry, they were 9-4 last year. And here's the thing. This is their schedule coming up. They're at Northwestern, not a very good team. Probably, I don't care who the coach is. They should win that game. They're at Michigan State. They'll score 60 in that game because everybody's seemingly scoring that many points on Michigan State. Then they host Purdue. Purdue's got a solid team. They host Maryland. At Iowa, at Nebraska, home for Minnesota. They already played Ohio State. They don't get Michigan. They don't get Penn State. And blowing them out. Guy's averaged double-digit wins for you pretty much throughout his career there.
And certainly he averaged 9. Yeah. This is a head scratcher. This is a wow.
This is something, quite frankly, Auburn does.
Yes.
David, this is not something Wisconsin does. So I was stunned by this firing. Stunned.
Yes. Stopped me in my tracks yesterday when I heard it. So that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know the world we're in, and also, quite frankly, why it surprises me, Mark, is that I thought Wisconsin, I mean, we've been saying for 15 years, nobody knows who they are more than Wisconsin. In terms of looking in the mirror and knowing who they are. And so maybe whether it be the transfer portal or a recruiting cycle or what have you, you sure you couldn't sit down and just, take a look at the program as a whole? And I mean, really? You don't think this guy's the answer? He's been nothing but the answer. And he's one of yours, for goodness sakes.
Right.
Now, so is Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator, is now interim head coach. And a lot of people have thought for a long time that Jim Leonard was head coaching material. But this is shocking. You're so right, Mark. This is something that an Auburn does. I mean, 2-3. They're not 0-5 like Colorado, where they've lost every game by 23 or more points. All right. Yeah, offensively this year, they seem to be, very Iowa-like. Anybody talking about firing Kirk Ferentz?
And Washington State's not, it looks like a bad loss. They're not awful.
No, not at all. And besides, listen, we're in a new world of college athletics with the transfer portal. Schools can get hit hard. I mean, look at Georgia Tech. They lost their 2-3 best players. The one kid just scored 2-3 touchdowns for Alabama Saturday. You could see why that's a big loss for Georgia Tech. I mean, even Power 5 programs can get hit by the transfer portal and need a little bit of time to recover. But this is amazing.
But it does.
I'm sorry, 16 million.
Yeah, but that's what I was just going to get to. It does show you, David, to your point, the money part. We mention it, but it really doesn't have to be mentioned anymore. And if any college complains about money, they're lying through their teeth. Wisconsin can get rid of Christ, fork out $16 million for a guy who's done that well there. Any coach is vulnerable. And it's not money anymore because they're swimming in it.
So that shows you how different the world that we're living in is. Because a program in a school that doesn't do stuff like this just cannonballed into the deep end and did stuff like this. And if they don't stay in-house, if Leonard doesn't get the job full-time, wow. That's all I got to say. And right now, who you put your money on in the Big Ten West? Purdue looked pretty good Saturday.
They did. It's a crapshoot. Miller and Moulton, also a crapshoot right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Yeah, everybody's going to have to be Zoom till further, or, StreamYard till further notice. They can do like Pat did, though. We don't have to have them on audio. They can take it on a phone. Because I don't know when they're going to have phones here. I didn't even think of it because we didn't have them on Friday. I don't know why I thought we should have something today. Going to get hot today. Really could use some air conditioning back, people. And Hops, that's funny, by the way. I thought it was funny when I saw it. I still think it's funny now. I've been amazed at how well my freezer can hold temperature without power. And Jake, the reason we do it the other way is because of where we sit when we're in studio. Because when we're looking at one another, if we were in the opposite things, we literally would be, put it this way, I'd be like this talking to David. That's what it would look like. And he would be facing the other way looking at me. That's why we switched it. We could switch chairs, but we don't want to do that.
No. Adam, the Auburn coach was losing his job even if they beat LSU to get off to a 4-1 start. They don't like him. They don't want him. They're going to get rid of him.
Ryan, do you work for Connors? I'm just curious because you got the Sarasota one in there. Yeah, it's the same place we sat in this room. We walked into the studio that we were fired in separately, 4 or 5 years apart, and sat in the exact same seats that we did when we worked together.
Well, there are very few places, Mello, where the coach has the power over the AD. I mean, that's a Nick Saban,
Dabo.
Yeah, and even Dabo, when Radakovich was there,
Coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Can I just throw some quick hitter stuff out at you?
Please do.
Well, first off, our poll question, it has to do with analytics and whether or not you like how much analytics are becoming a part of football, or do you think that it's now jumped the shark and coaches are now beginning to lose their mind with analytics? So that's our poll question. You and I have been pretty big into this NASCAR season.
Yes, we have.
Now, granted, we both like the watermelon farmer from Alva, Ross Chastain. We become fans. We had the big event at Napa 5 weeks ago with Chase Elliott, but we've been in all year.
And you've always been in. I'm the one who, in the last couple of years, my son's turned into a big gearhead, so I've watched a bit more. But it's not really been my kid; it's been Ross Chastain. I've become a fan. He's been on our show 4 or 5 times, and now when I watch, and he drives aggressively. So if it's a guy to root for, he's someone that's out there making moves. So I've found myself during the summertime watching a lot more NASCAR than ever before in my life.
Okay. And I'm glad you said what you said. You said summertime. Can I ask you a question? Have you watched any NASCAR since Labor Day?
Not a lap. Not a lap.
Now, listen, obviously the last handful of days, we know. But they were at Talladega this weekend. I mean, Talladega is a big deal.
And weren't they at Bristol the week before?
Yes. But obviously the thing with Talladega, in the middle of a chase and, a restrictor plate race, you can have the big wreck. It can totally change the standings. But I mention it because you and I have been all in. And I haven't watched many laps since the season started either. And yeah, granted, I'm working and traveling and that whole thing. But I'm wondering, Mark, the PGA Tour has now decided we can't compete with football at all. Period. Just can't do it. We got to be done by the end of August. And in a year from now, we're not even going to have the fall season. The season's not going to start in October 1. No, we're done. We're going to take time off. Guys are actually going to spend time with their families, which is going to be awkward for all the mistresses that they have, and they're not going to be able to spend time with them. But that's a PGA Tour thing. That's what those guys are going to have to work out. They got a year to figure it out, whether they're staying with their wives, going with their mistresses, breaking up with the mistresses. That's on them. Okay. But I'm wondering, if you're running NASCAR, do you have to do what the PGA Tour just did? I'm curious as to the NASCAR fan out there, because like in the South in particular, they will watch their college football on Saturday, and then Sunday, to many of them, is NASCAR. It's not NFL. It's the last little region in this country in which, no, I'm more into NASCAR than I am into the NFL. But I'm wondering, if you're NASCAR going forward, do you maybe have to drop some races here? And 36 weeks has got to become 30, and you got to figure out a way to get this sucker done. Or, Mark, this time of year, do you have to race on Thursday nights? All right. Do you just have to get off of Sunday afternoons?
Well, I don't know what the TV numbers are. I don't know how significant the drop is. The one thing we do know, about PGA Tour events, it really doesn't matter unless a guy named Woods is in the tournament contending. They get the same numbers, whether it's they get their numbers for a regular tour event, they get their numbers for a major, and then there's the Masters number. And it doesn't matter year to year. They don't change. I don't know, David. I know enough about. That I've read enough about. I don't know and have not studied what the NASCAR numbers are like during football season, because the point you make is so relevant. In the South, where NASCAR is born and bred, Sundays are for racing, not the National Football League.
But the National Football League's never been this big. And you could argue NASCAR's relationship with his base has never been, what's the word I'm looking for? Tenuous, disjointed, in doubt, which is two words I know, but it's not what it was, put it that way.
And you have NFL in Carolina now that's been there for a generation, at least, maybe a little bit more. That's a NASCAR stronghold, if you will, Charlotte. They've got football now. So you would think, David, just with that alone, the numbers would drop. What I don't know is how you get rid of races and what races you get rid of during the season.
Well, and it made me think that maybe during quote-unquote football season that they may just have to figure out a different time. Do they have to do every race on a Saturday night? Because I know you're going up against college football, but it's a hell of a lot better than going up against the NFL. I mean, no offense, the Sunday night games do 3-4 million people. The Sunday afternoon games do 25. I mean, it's a totally different. And if you let everybody know, hey, once we get to Labor Day, by the way, our races are Saturday night. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm over analyzing this. Maybe NASCAR should just keep on keeping on. Their fans will find it, that sort of deal. But you and I'm more of a hardcore fan than you are. Okay, but you're very much a casual fan.
But I got into it this year. The season was good. We had a bunch of guys who never won before. All these first-time winners. The playoff to get in far as winning. It was a season with the new car unlike any other.
Right.
It was a terrific season.
And once
here's the playoffs when I've been watching. Not interested.
Right. Football's now think about that. Think about that. The playoffs have started. You and I, 24 weeks, we were all in. The playoffs start, and a buddy of mine who's I consider to be a bigger racing fan even than me, said, wow, I didn't realize they were at Talladega this past weekend. And that's just all I'm wondering. That is the NFL so damn big that if you're NASCAR, because the PGA Tour gave it up. And to some degree, even Major League Baseball is making concessions.
To some degree? David, they've completely avoided Sundays with their playoffs. This is baseball.
Well, they're trying to. The only reason you'll get a Sunday game in the first round is if the best of 3 goes 3, because they're all going to start Friday, Saturday, and then they'll play Sunday.
I mean, they're going Friday and Saturday night to start their postseason.
I know.
The first and second worst days of television viewing that there are in this country. So they can do what? Try as best they can to avoid the National Football League.
And I'm wondering going forward, even though people are seemingly watching, but do you take on Amazon if you're a league, if you're Major League Baseball or your NASCAR in the short-term future? Do you say, you know what, let's get our network TV slot and let's go on Thursday nights and let's give it a shot? If we're going to take on the NFL, shouldn't we take them on when they're streaming?
Would be interesting to see if a television partner would be in. Because who are their television partners? Both NFL partners. Fox and NBC. I mean,
I know.
You're asking a lot.
I know. But just a thought, because this weekend was Talladega in the middle of the playoffs. I mean, we're halfway done with the playoffs, Mark. We got 5 races left in the NASCAR season.
So I've heard.
Exactly. And you were all in for 7 months. And now you're like, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Why are you talking about that? It's football season. Don't you know better, Moulton? Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Let me ask you guys something. So you would say most of Southwest Florida are more Bucks fans than Dolphins fans?
No.
More Dolphins fans.
Far more Dolphins fans than
Far
Bucs
more.
fans. It's not even close.
That's what I thought.
Then why did you ask it the other way?
Because I tried to do some reverse thing there to see.
I mean, we've only talked about it on the show. I mean, Felipe, I got to be frank with you. We've only talked about that very fact on this show 37 times since you've worked here.
That's why I had a feeling. I had my friend.
Well, you had a feeling.
No, because right. I had someone tell me that there are more Bucks fans, and I'm like, really?
No.
I don't know.
So the race was on NBC nationally?
Yeah. NBC has the second half of the NASCAR season. And in theory, they do the race, local news.
Very
Sunday
good, Sean. Very good. In a row? By the way, have you seen Clerks 3 yet? I have not.
Yeah, Mello, they are.
Yes, they are. It's Is it right to streaming, Sean? Or was it in the theaters?
Adam, I'm guessing that's because of the channels that you watch. That's why you saw more advertising for F1.
He's not Berserko, is he? Gotcha. This guy has got to shave.
The local news anchor?
With the
he still hasn't.
The two gray strips right here, like I have when I grow it. It doesn't.
He still hasn't shaved that thing.
Is he the ABC guy
I think he is. I think he's been doing mornings with Spooner a lot. I don't recognize him. I refer to him as Wolfman Jack.
We should probably reach out to Spooner and say, so what's
when I see her at gymnastics, first thing I'm going to say, great job. You guys killed it. Tell Wolfman Jack to shave his beard.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to get a job in another market with that thing? Very cool. Okay, I know what you're talking about. That's fantastic. That's fantastic, Sean. So you'll have to let everybody know tomorrow, David, if they're going to come on. We have to get them through StreamYard.
So how did you get Pat on?
StreamYard.
You sent him a link.
Send him a link. He doesn't have to go on with video. You can just do audio, just like a Zoom call. I just sent him a link, and he just clicks. Same thing. I sent him the exact same thing I sent you, David.
Okay. So do you have to have a computer, or can you?
No, you can do it on your phone.
Gotcha.
Pat just did it on his phone.
Okay.
Just what you'll have to tell them, David, when you reach out to them is tell them just to accept without video. And they should be able to figure that out. It's essentially a Zoom call they're doing, just without video. Average Vikes fan, it is. It's a dadgum good point. That's two storms that they've been completely taken off the air. Although I think most of the radio stations are back on. I'm not positive. I don't think the sports one is. I know I noticed the classic rock station's back on.
Come back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm out in California. I'm in Palo Alto, technically, which is equidistant between San Jose and Santa Clara, about 15 miles each way. Niners playing Santa Clara. They host the Rams tonight, Monday Night Football. Got to admit, that's a pretty decent game. And Can the Niners, Mark, dig themselves another hole like they have in recent years and dig themselves out of it? If they lose, they're 1-3. The Rams will be 3-1, and they'll be in last place in their division. And every team in the NFC, except for the NFC South leader, will have just one loss, at least those that are in the playoffs. So can the Niners afford to lose tonight? Drop to 1-3. They were 3-5 at one point last year, and then 6 minutes from the Super Bowl.
Can they? Sure, but that would be the Rams have already beaten the Cardinals. That would mean they're 2-0 in the division. Sure, I mean, but as you point out, it's a rather big hole you're digging yourselves awfully early in an NFC that's teams have gotten off to a much better starts than we anticipated.
Niners are a 1.5-point favorite. Over-under's 42.5. So basically it's 22-21 Niners is the game tonight. Make your bets accordingly. It's a pretty low over-under, but then again, unders have been the play unless you're betting the Lions. All right, of the 7 teams, by the way, in the NFC, tell me the ones that you're like, no, not going to be there at the end. If the playoffs started today, Philly, Dallas, and the Giants would be in it.
Well, the Giants, I don't believe it.
Minnesota, Green Bay, both 3-1. Technically, the Vikings are the division leader.
Had them both as playoff teams to start the year. Still think it now.
Tampa Bay, tied with Atlanta atop the South, and then the Rams right now, because they're 2-1. Seattle, Arizona are 2-2. And so until proven otherwise, we're going with the Rams. So, Mark, as of right now, you're basically saying, I'll bet on 6 out of the 7 to be there 3 months from now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. How many would you take out of the 7?
I think tonight's game will, I had the Niners win the division. So tonight's kind of a big game for me, at least in terms of my picks. I did not have Dallas making the playoffs.
I did not either. And this start that they're off with Cooper Rush is impressive. But what's more impressive is just how good their defense has been.
Yes. Again, because remember, they lost Gregory. They lost a couple key defensive linemen. All right. And could they really live off turnovers like they did last year? And so far, the answer is yes. And they're getting pressure on the passer, and they're forcing turnovers again. But that's, once again, it's a 17-game season. You would think 4 games in, you're not, the cement's not hardening, if you will. And yet we ask all of you out there, of the 7 teams right now that would be in the NFC, let's face it, we're all dismissing the Giants, but are you dismissing any of the other 6?
And when I looked at the Cowboys at the beginning of the year, I just took a glance at their schedule, and there were too many teams that I didn't have a lot of faith in that they were playing, namely the Giants twice, namely the Commanders twice. They get to play the Bears and the Lions. I had a tough time looking at Dallas and seeing how they couldn't get to 10. I just thought it was difficult, whatever you thought about the Cowboys, looking at their schedule, to see them at any worse than 9-8, to me, was an impossibility. And now with their start being even better without Dak, boy, Cowboys and the Eagles are going to be battling for the East right now.
And now both the Dolphins and the Bucs begin the stretch of their season where they need to make hay. And suddenly the first game of that stretch for the Dolphins is looking a little more challenging. Miami at the Jets. Then they host the Vikings. And then after that, they host the Steelers. They're at the Lions. They're at the Bears. They host the Browns and Texans. I mean, there are wins on that schedule. In fact, I don't know if I listed a game in which they're not favored in their next, 7 games. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to go 7-0. But it means they shouldn't go less than 5-2, quite frankly. They should be 8-3 heading into their brutal finishing stretch of the season.
And have to be. Fact of the matter is, if they're going to be a postseason team, they have to be 8-3 at that point. Because as David mentioned, as we've pointed out forever, there's a 3-game roadie on that stretch for Miami. And none of the teams are pushovers.
The Bucks host the Falcons. They're at the Steelers, and they're at Carolina. Quite frankly, they need to put this division away. They need to just get it done and over with. Then they host the Ravens, and they host the Rams, and they host the Seahawks. So they got 3 games here where they're going to be clear favorites. They should be 5-2, and then they have a 3-game homestand. And then they got some challenging games on their schedule. So, this is how we're just 4 games in. Technically, we're not even at the quarter pole anymore. But it's amazing how quickly, you draw a conclusion based on just 4 games. Carolina was 3-1 a year ago, on their way to 5-12.
I don't know what faith anybody has or what thoughts anybody has on Jacksonville, but I think you and I both agree, David, that their defense is pretty darn good. They can run the football, and yesterday they had a bad outing offensively. It was a lousy day.
Yeah, well, and I think Adam, our resident Jags fan in the Twitch chat room, pointed it out. Doug Peterson probably needed to run the ball a little more yesterday.
But here you go for the Jags, David. After losing to the Eagles, they host the Texans. Just hear me out for a half a second, because they host the Texans. Then they go to the Colts. Does anybody trust the Colts right now? Then they host the Giants and the Broncos and the Raiders.
Well, I'm going to give them a loss at Indianapolis, but a win against the Giants. So in theory, they're 4-3, right?
And a win against the Texans this week.
Well, that's what I mean. Give them a win against the Texans, loss to the Colts, win against the Giants. They're 4-3.
If they can split the Broncos and Raiders at home, they're 5-4.
Mm-hmm.
Still in this thing and way ahead of expectations.
Well,
and in that division, they should be leading the division at that point.
Or tied with Tennessee, something like that. And they will have not played the Titans yet, right?
Correct.
This could come down to the last stretch of the season where they've got 2 meetings with Tennessee.
They still have the Lions on their schedule, do the Jags. They still have the Jets on their schedule. I mean, defense travels, and so far they look like a respectable NFL football team.
Meanwhile, these are the playoff teams in the AFC right now, and it's a much more convoluted mess because you got 8 teams that are 2-2. But Miami and Buffalo are both 3-1. You willing to bet on Miami still to make the playoffs?
I am. How the quarterback with Tua or Bridgewater is going to make all the difference in the world, but we've got to figure that out first.
Kansas City is the lone playoff team from the West. And I will say they are playing much better than I thought they were going to. I actually thought they were going to struggle. Andy has run the ball more than I thought he would. We said he had to. We said he needed to adjust. His team's a little different now. And, hey, imagine that. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's finally adjusting. But, Mark, technically your playoff teams would be from the North today, the 2 Ohio teams, Cleveland and Cincinnati. And then from the South, Jacksonville and Tennessee. Now, it's a convoluted mess. Those are 4 of the 8 teams in the conference that are 2-2. Hell, 3 of them could be out next week. But that's how it shapes right now. Miami, Buffalo, KC, I think right now, most people, not everybody's betting the Dolphins. They still believe that the Dolphins are the Dolphins and will fade. But Cleveland, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Now, I wouldn't bet on Jacksonville to make the playoffs. I wouldn't bet on Cleveland either to make the playoffs. I mean, the Indians, the Browns have 2 games that they should be 4-0.
And the other side of it is the Ravens. I don't know what they should be, but they certainly gave one away to the Dolphins, and they gave one away yesterday.
And both at home, too. So there you have it. Approaching the quarter pole. We're going to leap past it next week. That's how it looks on each side. You decide for yourself which teams the cement's already hardening around. And for that matter, think of the teams we haven't mentioned. Like Mark, you ready to bail on the Saints? You and I both had them making the playoffs. They're 1-3.
It's pretty tough to have any faith in the New Orleans Saints right now.
Can't keep their key guys healthy. And do we know who the quarterback is?
And without the key guys healthy, you can't trust either quarterback to lead. You know, I mean, if it's Jameis, you can't trust Jameis without Kamara, without Thomas, without any weapons. Olave's been special early on, but they're going to need a lot more out of everyone else if that team's going to have success. And right now, they don't look like a playoff team at all.
Saints play 4 of their next 5 at home. Historically, a great home field advantage. And I know there's not much of one anymore in the NFL. Well, New Orleans needs there to be a home field advantage for them to get back into this season. They host Seattle and Cincinnati. They go to Arizona on a Thursday night. And then they come back home for the Raiders and Ravens. Not easy. Still have the Rams on their schedule. Still have to go to Tampa. Still have an at Philly on their schedule. As Yogi once said, Mark, it's getting late early.
Need to take advantage of those home games coming up. No doubt. But it's tough to me, it's tough to trust the Saints unless they have all their weapons healthy, because then you're putting a lot on Jameis. And I don't know if he can handle all of that, David.
And I think, quite frankly, if that's the case, you might need to play Andy Dalton. Because I don't know if Jameis is ever going to be the quarterback that we thought he was going to be coming out of college. That if you have to put it on his shoulders, he's every bit as likely to screw it up as he is to make the play. And at the end of the day, I don't know if that can be your starting quarterback. That can be your backup, but I don't know if that can be your starter. Miller and Moulton. Thoughts tonight? Rams, Niners.
Well, it will get late early for the Niners if they don't get this. And as badly as they played and as much as Garoppolo put a lot of it on, just put some of it on himself and not knowing the plays and not being ready, I think you're going to see a really physical game tonight. Problem is, I think the best team's LA. I think the Rams get this done tonight, David, on the road. I just think they're better right now. A close game, but give me the Rams. Give me Cooper Kupp having another big night, and I'll take the Rams in a close one.
And because of the desperado factor, if you will, that I believe that the Niners have to have this game. To already be 2 games back in the standings, and then to have to, even though they've done well their last few times they've had to play the Rams on the road. And I mean, think about it. I believe they had won like 5 or 6 in a row against the Rams until the NFC Championship game. But so I'm going to take the more desperate team tonight, Mark.
You're probably right.
And that team should be the Niners. ESPN does their, like BPI, best chances. They give the Rams a 62% chance to win tonight, for whatever that's worth.
There's no percentage on desperation, though. And that's the part of this goes back almost to our poll question. That's analytics, speaking of what they're trying to work out. Desperation not factored in to analytics. For those of you in Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte, we thank you for listening. We'll be back again in the morning. For the 239, the bonus hour is next on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening?
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The 281 points in the Lions' 4 games is the most combined points through 4 games in NFL history. Not that that's much of a surprise.
284.
281.
Okay.
They've scored 140 and they've allowed 141.
That's an over-under of 70 every week. Wow. Well, and there were a lot of people who got caught dead struck who didn't realize, because Kamara didn't appear on an injury report all week and then all of a sudden was inactive. And so there were a lot of people that got caught playing him because they were in the London game and they, woke up at 9:30, 10, and by the time they caught it, it was too late.
my God, that's awesome. Josh Allen leaving the field. There was a rope. He's a big golfer. Did you see it?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. That makes me smile. Sorry, it's my Twitter fix, David. I don't get a lot of this during the day.
I understand.
I've seen AJ more in the last 3 days than I have in the last 9 months. So where are you staying this week, David?
I'm probably moving because where I was staying has no power.
Well, where are you flying to?
Well, flying to Fort Lauderdale late Tuesday night.
Okay.
And then,
36.
Probably Wednesday after the show, probably just moving, just getting in the car and going. I mean, I don't.
Right.
Where am I going to stay?
You can stay at my place for a night or two, too, if you.
Right, but I mean, no. But you know what I meant.
No,
I mean,
I know exactly.
The plan was to stay 3-4 more weeks. I mean,
no real sense now.
Coming back.
Yeah, the plans got blown up.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this first Monday of the month. We hope you're all doing a little bit better. We know some of you may not. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We having to make alternate arrangements with this show as well, with the phone lines down. So we're going to be scrambling a bit this week. Our normal guest list may not be our normal guest list. I think everyone is understanding of, well, not having normalcy in these times, not just in life, but with our local radio shows. So, we'll see how many of David Sampson, Pat Kerwin, and the like that we have tomorrow. We'll see.
I'm betting, without you having given me any info, because David handles the guests on our show, I'll bet you we get all of them. I bet you everybody will be willing, particularly to come on where we are, and I think want to come on where we are, particularly this week. So we'll see. But as all of you are hopefully getting power back in the coming days, we're not that far apart on that one. I said earlier, I got the tease. I got 24 hours of power. Then it was taken away. Looks like about 58% of us do not have power in Lee County. Numbers getting much better in Collier County. Charlotte County, about the same as Lee. They expect to have power back by the weekend for 95% of their customers. Nothing like the sight of saw an FPL truck come down the street. I thought people were going to come out and start hugging the man.
So in other words, he thought it was more like the Good Humor truck.
My wife offered the good wine. She said, go out. Anything he needs.
The good wine. That is so funny. When growing up in the Northeast, and we lived in apartment complexes, and so we were at the mercy of, and the complex did not really have its own, payloader. So they would have to hire one out. So when the payloader reached your little section of the apartment complex, my mother used to run out with the booze and would say, listen, even if you go and you start doing other sections, if you need to come back, we'll feed you, if you will, and we will booze you up throughout the night. So that was our thing. And we had this one storm and it went on for days. And, you'll have to help me here. But, isn't there like, cooking wine or what have you? It's not really
Yes.
wine, but right. And so apparently my mom said we were down to that and we were bringing that out as well. So
they are the heroes right now. All of the line trucks out working throughout Southwest Florida is trying to get power restored to so many people. And I know, if you're in the Cape, or obviously if you're someone who lived on the beach or west of 41, we know your issues are a lot more substantial than the little things we're talking about. And we're with you. We're here for you. And I'm sure you'll keep hearing more things that this station and others are doing to make sure we take care of the folks in Southwest Florida that desperately need it right now.
Buried in Bourbon is one of those that follows us on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel. And he said he grew up near Fort Campbell, but seeing our area looking like a military base operating close by is so weird these days. I don't know if it was the football coach or the AD at South Fort Myers High School, that there's so many rescues and that their football field is being used that's where helicopters are landing. And he was quoted the other day as saying, I don't think I'm ever going to look at our football field the same way again.
I don't know how you could. I mean, been sitting outside for the past couple of days because the only thing that's been fortunate is that post hurricane, the weather's not been so damn hot. And it is just the strangest damn feeling as you're sitting there and you're watching the helicopter fly by so many times. And just to keep seeing that is something so foreign to us that it is, I can't even imagine if you're, in the areas that he has seen that on such a regular basis. It will take us a while, but we'll get through it like we have so many times before, but nothing quite like what Ian has done to Southwest Florida.
And not just the visuals, but even the sound, because obviously, those copters have a different sound and you're not used to that sound. And it makes you realize, oh yeah, this is, even if the little area where you're sitting, feels quote unquote normal. All right. The sounds that we're all hearing right now also tell you, oh, no, it is far from that.
Just this morning, getting excited when I drove in this morning because a few more places had power. For the first time, seeing the buildings that are attached to the complex right next to where we work, David, they didn't have power. Their power was on. Across the street, power was on. First time I'd seen those lights. So it's the little bits of progress, I think, keep you thinking a little more positively as with everything that is going on out there. But, I-75 was closed yesterday in spots north of us because of flooding. It has just been treacherous to get back to even any semblance of normalcy, not to mention all the parts that, will never be the same, the beaches and the barrier islands and things of that nature.
Yeah, I've tried really, really hard not to say normalcy because I don't see how Southwest Florida is ever going to look or feel the same.
It won't. I mean, it just won't. There's just no two ways about it. You'll never have Fort Myers Beach be Fort Myers Beach again. It won't be the one that we remember. Whatever it is that they do will not be the same beach. It's just too many places, too many memories.
And in the St. James cities and the Matlaches of the world, I once again trying to stay away from the expression which we feel politicians have thrown out there way too many times with not a whole lot of meaning over these recent years. But it's tough not to have quote unquote thoughts and prayers, because if we haven't seen the pictures, we certainly can imagine them because of where obviously everyone is located. And for all the heroic stories that are out there, there are seemingly just as many tragic ones. And
I think we'll, unfortunately, David, get more of the tragic ones here in the coming days. My wife's best friend, her parents live on Pine Island. And for all those people that can't get back.
Right.
and not even be able to assess what's happened or what hasn't happened or what's left or what's not left. I just feel for all of those people because you don't have to go too far down the line to have many of your friends and close acquaintances that have lost damn near everything, whether they lived on the beach or whether they just lived west of 41 or whether they were in Pine Island or Cape Coral. It's Naples. It happened everywhere, of so many people losing so much. And your heart goes out to them because as we're worried about little things like getting power, they're seemingly trying to find anything and all the memories that they've lost, not to mention all the lives that have been lost from Hurricane Ian. So we'll keep doing our thing.
Yes, we will, which obviously in the grand scheme of things is incredibly small. And we've always known that. I mean, that is one thing that we have always said, that, sports is just a distraction from the real world. And oftentimes when people try to make real world comparisons, we have often said, whoa, 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 this is the sports world. Very rarely do the two coincide. But I thought I saw a couple days ago where, the Sanibel Causeway, in which they're talking about it'll take a year. It'll take a year, and it'll take busting there, what, for it to be just a year. But that it'll be a year. And so, we're being told that a temporary bridge to Pine Island should be up maybe by the weekend. Hope so.
We'll see. It's just going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort from a lot of people. It'll get rebuilt. We know that. It won't be the same. We know that. But it's going to be a long road ahead for so many people in Southwest Florida. And as David said, we will do our best to be a distraction. We talk sports, not real world. It's impossible to not do a little of both these days. And from that standpoint, we'll do our little bit of both. And, we'll make sure we make you laugh every Friday. We do this segment where we pick games.
Oh, it is downright comical.
We will do our best to try to help you get some of your money back that you may have lost. And you do that by simply going the other way.
Right. Between the two of us, we had a terrific week this week. We went a combined 3-6-1. Gives you an idea how well the season's gone so far. Man, oh man. Wow. And remember, for the record, you did say, David, I love all 5 of your picks, unquote. You did say that. Yep.
I know.
Right.
Loved them.
1 and 4. Yep. 1 and 4. Oh, boy. Miller and Moulton on this first Monday of October. It's the messages that we've received, kind of like, hey, guys, I've been out of the loop the last 4 or 5 days. Could you tell me what happened? Going back to Thursday when the Dolphins were playing, and think about it, most of our audience did not see or listen to the game. And when they listened to us on Friday morning, we were literally telling them, when is the last time that most of our audience had no connection with a Dolphins game? Never mind a 3-0 Dolphins game.
Well, I was going to say, when's the last time our audience had no connection with a Dolphin game? Pick the season.
Okay. a good Dolphins team playing.
Right.
How about that?
Right. There you go.
But like you last night, you said you listened to the game.
Listen to Gene Deckeroff. Listen to the Bucks game on the radio. Gene's put me to sleep because, well, the Bucks put me to sleep. It was Gene's voice that I fell asleep to.
I was kind of like falling asleep to Vin then.
Yeah,
falling asleep to Gene.
The transistor radio days. It was like living in the, you know that, David, curled up with that transistor in the bed, trying to keep it so quiet that mom couldn't hear that you had the game on.
You slept on the speaker.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Ryan, hope you made it out all right as well. All things considered, we did just fine.
Brian, you're out in the Cape, aren't you?
By the way, today is a hell of a today was the day when.
Yeah.
Nope.
I got Bobby Thompson. I must be missing some stuff because
Bobby Thompson. Okay. Lincoln.
Yep.
Today,
Thanksgiving.
All right. Gordie Howe.
Yep. Got it. OJ not guilty.
OJ. East and West Germany reunite today after 45 years. And Amanda Knox's murder conviction overturned. And if you really want to go pop culture, Sinead O'Connor on SNL tears up.
Yeah, I didn't put that one in because there was too many other good ones.
So I just thought there was a lot going on today. Okay, Brian.
I always liked the comedian that made the joke about the East and West Germany thing. Why do we need to put them back together? Really, we didn't work out that good the first couple times.
Take a dadgum good point.
I don't know who it was, but it's back when when HBO used to run those last comedian specials all the time, or the Rising Stars or whatever the hell it was.
I used to love those HBO comedian specials. Dangerfield would come out and introduce everybody, do a few jokes in between them. That's where we first saw Louis Anderson.
Yep.
Ow, ow, ow. That material still works too, nearly 40 years later.
Yeah, Louis Anderson, Sam Kinison.
The Kinnison material.
But I mean, he broke a lot of comics on that show.
Yep. That was where I first remember seeing Paul Reiser. As a comedian.
Right. I still love that he was doing stand-up and the stand-up stuff in diners. Just the end of diners, fantastic. It's just fantastic.
That movie ages very well.
Oh, first off, the
Very
cast
well.
is grotesquely
Amazing.
underrated how good it was.
Amazing how.
Boy, no
Yes.
kidding.
Yes, Guillermo.
What a difference a week makes. Last week, it was the Dolphins, Bucks, and Jags. Florida State, everybody winning.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, floridasportsnetwork.com, has to deal with analytics and football. They seem to be taking over. You okay with it? You like it? It usually leads to far more aggressive play. Or do you think it's already jumped the shark and these coaches need to be reined in? Which is where I'm at. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, floridasportsnetwork.com. Vote accordingly.
Can't wait till you actually work one of these games where this decides it.
Well, I've worked quite a few already in which it had to be brought up. So last year, I did the Chiefs Chargers on Thursday night, and Chargers kept going for it every single time on fourth down. Now, I will say the Gator game against Tennessee, going for two. Because of the storm, we never had Bud Elliott on. Can't wait to get Bud on this week and say, listen, sorry, we got to go back a week, but we got to go back a week. You're an analytics guy in a big way. You're a numbers guy. You use it to bet with. You're winning. You win at a far higher level than most everyone else who bets college football. This obviously works for you. But is there ever a time in which you just look at the numbers and go, yeah, I can't go with those? That just can't go. Which to me is what the head coach / baseball manager has to do. I mean, at some point, somebody tells you, well, and you go, yeah, okay. And 97 times out of 100, I'll listen to you, but this ain't one of them.
How many managers / head coaches have the comfort of being able to do that, David?
To say no?
Correct. To the analytics. I mean, that to me is the ultimate question. In the moment, they can all say no that one time, but you know what I'm getting to here.
I know exactly what you're getting to. Hell, Dave Roberts is manager of the Dodgers, and for the most part, the lineup card is dictated for him. pitching changes are discussed before the game, basically, as to how this is ideally how we would have the game play out. Oh, okay. I mean, people believe he's a button pusher. 61 games above 500, but he's a button pusher. In the last, it's gotten pretty deep in the playoffs here for about 6 consecutive years. Damn button pusher.
So
I know
if
exactly
he
what you're
doesn't
saying.
have the authority to say no to upstairs, who does?
But like the belief, and I know what you're getting at. Like, I think Snitker in Atlanta does. I think he's earned it. 4 straight division titles. It'll be 5 here today. All right. The World Series. I think Snitker can do whatever he wants. Buck Showalter, that was actually part of his hiring with the Mets. But Aaron Boone doesn't have it. I mean, that's been firmly established. Aaron Boone doesn't have it. Now, I think Dusty Baker has it in Houston, because I don't think Dusty can manage by the book.
In football,
Well,
I think more of them have it, but I also think the hiring process is somewhat based on how you come to your decision making. I mean, don't you think in the interview process that this analytic thing is a big part of who they hire?
Well, the word is the Carolina owner is huge into analytics, and that it influenced Ron Rivera at the end of his tenure, and that Matt Rule has to, in theory, be aggressive when it comes to analytics, because his owner is a big proponent of it. And yeah, Mark, I think you're right. I think you find out in the interview process, you're like, wow, this guy's really into analytics. Damn. And Ron Rivera is one of those coaches, down 14. He's been known to score a touchdown and go for 2, wanting to cut it to 6 so that he could win it with a touchdown and an extra point. And the analytics say that it's a good play. It's worth the risk, because if you miss it, well, hell, you're down 8 and you can still score a touchdown and tie it. So it's worth the risk. And to you and I, we're like, no, you kick the extra point, you're down 7. And if you want to go for the win, well, you can decide that later on down the road in the game, depending on circumstances. You and I have talked about it for many years. On the road, the underdog, we'd go for the win.
But I've got to give myself a shot at the win first.
I agree.
Going for 2 on the first time, I'm giving myself a shot at the win only if I get it. If I don't get it, then I have to convert a 2-point conversion in order to tie the game. It does not. I really would like to sit down with these statistical people and have them explain that one to me, because for the life of me, doing it first doesn't make sense.
John Harbaugh used the word analytics freely in his post game yesterday, when the Ravens had 4th and goal from the 2 with a little over 4 minutes to go, and he went for the touchdown in a tie game. A tie game. And he said the analytics said that was the play, taking everything into consideration. And Mark, I've talked about it. I get those numbers in my ear. Had it set up with Fox, we've got it set up here with ESPN. I have an iPad in front of me. Certain stadiums, the Wi-Fi is not good enough. The iPad can't be play-by-play up to speed. Well, I can talk directly to a guy in Bristol or in the SAT truck down in the bowels of the stadium who's got the up-to-date information, who's telling me it's a go, it's a stop, it's a toss-up. And all I do is relay that information to Troy. Because Troy has said, I want to know what the analytics say, even though he's on record as saying he's not big into using the analytics if he was a coach. But as a broadcaster, he feels he needs to know what they say, because that's where we're at in this game in 2022.
And obviously, the weekend showed us anything, is that they are more and more prevalent every week, Saturdays and Sundays. Lane Kiffin, up 3, goes for it. instead of kicking a field goal to go up 6.
With less than 10 minutes to go in a game at home. And it was 4th and goal from just inside the 5. And I'm willing to bet you analytics said that was a go. I'm willing to bet you. And to you and I, it seems nothing short of asinine.
Now you have to force Kentucky to get a touchdown to take the lead. Your field goal would then beat them.
Correct.
As opposed to you don't get it, and if it wasn't for 2 big defensive stops, forcing fumbles on Kentucky, we don't know how that game turns out. Credit Ole Miss's defense. They are not the Ole Miss team that you're used to. They can run the football and they can play a little bit of defense. But the decision-making by a guy that we like a lot didn't make sense to the two of us.
By the way, very quickly, I saw an interesting poll question today. What's a better job, Wisconsin or Nebraska? What's a better job, Ole Miss or Auburn? Because they're going to come after Lane.
I think Auburn.
Well,
But
I mean, at
boy, oh
Auburn,
boy, the money you have at Ole Miss.
I understand, but at Auburn, you can win a national championship.
Right.
So far, it hasn't even been proven you can get to Atlanta at Ole Miss. Wisconsin or Nebraska, what's a better job?
Wisconsin. At least it was yesterday, David. I don't know anymore when they're firing coaches 5 games into the season. I mean, I still can't figure that one out. Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap all still lie ahead right here. Well, on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Nick agreed about the head coach potential, but here's the thing. Did you think Jim Leonard was going to get another job, coming off this year? I mean, quite frankly, if Jim Leonard was going to get hired, wouldn't he have gotten hired in the last 3 years? So I don't think Wisconsin fired Paul Chryst to keep Jim Leonard. I think they're now going to use these next 7 games to decide whether or not they're going to keep Jim Leonard. Well, I'll tell you what, in this sense, I'm going to believe Wisconsin. They said they sat down and had a long evaluation of the program and just felt that Paul wasn't the guy anymore. I'm just surprised. I thought Wisconsin would be one of those places where they'd maybe come to that decision and then say, okay, now what do we have to do to turn things around? Who's not an option for Nebraska, though, Nick? Tell you what, if I'm Trev Alberts, you are putting your job on the line if you're going to give this job to somebody who's never been a head coach before. I beg the Kansas coach, by the way. Beg him. Isn't that where game day's going?
Yes. Telling you, Wolfman Jack has got to shave this beard. He's on TV right now. It's driving me crazy.
I give game day credit, too, because that's an FS1 game that they're doing game day from, TCU, Kansas.
By the way, how about Oklahoma?
Unbelievable.
30 seconds. I like that guy's hat. Come back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
The home stretch, 22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Sampson, Pat Kerwin, Matt Canada, those scheduled to be on the show tomorrow. We've got some technical things that we're dealing with as well, so we have to get guests on the show a little bit differently, but that's the lineup. David Sampson, Pat Kerwin, Matt Canada. We'll see how we do.
I think we're going 3 for 3 for the record.
Okay.
I'm just telling you right now. And this is all on, your doing, if you will. But
Right.
I know Kerwin's good.
If we are the Meatloaf song of 2 out of 3 ain't bad all week, is that okay?
Oh, Hall of Fame numbers right there, David, if you're going 667. I'm not, but I think tomorrow we go 3 for 3.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
A lot of Florida ties with all 3 of them. And Kanata always comes in the Twitch chat room, so I know he's not afraid of technology. I mean, Samson travels the world and runs marathons. You think he's afraid of a Zoom call?
Well, I know he's not afraid of it. I just don't know if I'll get him to do it. So we'll find out.
So I have good vibes for tomorrow, David. I have good vibes. So we'll see how it all turns out. Time now for
someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1863 is where we start. President Lincoln designates the last Thursday in November as Thanksgiving. It would be 9 years.
So that's when that started?
That's when that started. It would be 9 years later that Bloomingdale's would open in New York. They figured it would be a good time to have a sale based on Lincoln's news. David, this one is specifically for you. Christy Mathewson strikes out 16 in the New York Giants win over the Cardinals, but that's not the important part. The game was finished in 1 hour and 15 minutes.
There you go. Now we're talking. You think they're stepping out of the box then? No. Mm-mm.
Two things happened in 1920 today. George Sisler gets 257 hits. That would stand as the record for most hits in a season until this century. Also, the APFA, the American Professional Football Association, which was a precursor to the NFL, had its first games. In the first game on record, the Dayton Triangles take out the Columbus Panhandlers 14-0.
Triangles, did you say?
Yes, the Dayton Triangles.
Beat the Panhandlers.
The Panhandlers. Yeah. 1951, the shot heard around the world. Bobby Thompson's shot to give the Giants the pennant over the Dodgers.
They were stealing the signs. We didn't know it at the time. Okay, Mark, they might as well have had a big garbage can and been banging it at the Polo Grounds. They stole the signs.
1955, 2 premieres. Captain Kangaroo and the Mickey Mouse Club both debuted today in 1955. The Andy Griffith Show debuted today in 1960, and the Dick Van Dyke Show debuted today in 1961.
Okay, how many of us will at some point today then start whistling the theme to Andy Griffith?
All right, 1971, Billie Jean King becomes the first woman to earn $100,000 in a year in sport. 1974, Jerry West retires. 1976, Hank Aaron in his last at-bat singles for an RBI in a loss to the Tigers. A bunch of stuff happened today in 1990. I'll start with probably the most important. The reunification of East and West Germany. We'll start there. That's kind of a biggie.
I was going to say, do you really have something bigger than that? That
No, I
was
said
a biggie.
We'll start the 3 other things happen that are, well, 2 are relevant sports-wise and 1's relevant Florida-wise.
Okay.
Charles Freeman was arrested for obscenity for selling 2 live Crew albums today in 1990. George Brett wins the batting title today, becoming the only player to win the batting title in 3 different decades, 76, 80, and 90. And Cecil hit 50 and 51 to become the 11th player to 50 home runs.
That was a big deal at the time, too.
It was. So as I said, there's a lot of stuff that happened. Today in 95, OJ was found not guilty.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you remember where you were?
No, I don't.
I do. I was at a football press conference, North Dakota State football press conference, and people started murmuring and what have you. And Rocky Hager was the head coach at the time, and finally stopped and he said, "What the hell's going on?"
I mean, I would have been living in Nashville. I just don't remember where I was. Today in 96, the Thunderdome was renamed Tropicana Field. Today in 97, Gordie Howe plays for the 7th decade at the age of 69, lacing him up for the IHL's Detroit Vipers. Today in 01, Ricky Henderson ties Cobb for most runs scored, and Bonds breaks Ruth's record for most walks in a year. Today in 04, that previously mentioned hit record, Ichiro gets to 262 today, and it was the last Expos game played in Montreal. It would be an 8-1 loss to the Mets. Today in 2012, Miguel Cabrera hits for the Triple Crown, and it was a year ago that Brady passes Drew Brees for most yards thrown. Those born today that are no longer with us, singer Eddie Cochran, wrestler Bullet Bob Armstrong, and the great Stevie Ray Vaughan. Those that are celebrating birthdays today. Goaltender Glenn Hall is 91. He was the first butterfly goalie. Guitarist Lindsey Buckingham, 73. Dave Winfield, 71. Freddie Couples is 63. Tommy Lee is 60. We'd have all lost that bet.
No doubt.
Gwen Stefani is 53, and the terrific Billy Strings. If you've never heard of him, go look it up. Bluegrass guitar player. Amazing. He's 30 years old today. And that, David, is today was the day when. Did I miss anything?
The only pop culture reference that I would mention was 30 years ago today, Sinead O'Connor on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
She tore up a picture of Pope John Paul II, all right, and made a few political expressions during that show, which then had the tremendous rebuttal from SNL a week or two later. Joe Piscopo as Frank Sinatra, okay, playing pool, going, hey, you listen to me here, cue ball, okay, talking about Sinead
Every
O'Connor.
time I see Sinead O'Connor, I think 8-ball, side
pocket. Ooh.
That's Sinatra. Yep. They did a round table, like a CNN crossfire type of size. Yes.
Speaking of Saturday Night Live, I didn't see it, but apparently they made fun of the Manning cast.
And made fun of themselves, apparently.
Yes.
What, season 47?
I think it's 8.
48? Okay.
I think it's 48 because I believe it's this and 2 others. And most people believe Lorne Michaels will end it at 50. And that the network, which it's an extremely expensive show, and the network can't wait to get rid of it. But nobody has the guts to cancel the show.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Look, I'm just going to give a couple of them. There's a million of them that are giving food away. I'm just reading some of the Lee County ones. The Old Bonita Library, the Kelly Road Soccer Complex, the Cape Coral Soccer Complex, the Estero High School Ball Field, Flea Masters Flea Market. The Harry Chapin food banks are at a bunch of different places. If you can get online, I would suggest checking NBC-2.com or ABC-7.com. They have a list of all the places. They've done just a tremendous job through the storms. And as much as I like to have fun with this, I don't know how else we can go with anything else for that, for the good, for all of the great things that are going on. I think we could have a list of goods really and truly for months of the goodwill that's going to go on in Southwest Florida. So if I missed something, if there's something you think is worthy of the good, shoot us a text at 21,000 so we have it for the rest of the week. All right. For the bad, we go to Georgia, where a Nissan GTR driver was arrested after taking the sheriff deputies through a chase on highway and city streets that had the driver of the car hitting over 150 miles an hour. Apparently, the day before, a cop caught him going 179 but was unable to catch him. The driver, Tihash Dazi, told officers he didn't feel that he needed to stop after he reached such high speeds.
Yeah. Really? Wow. That's interesting reasoning. Do explain. Really?
Finally, the ugly, we go to North Fort Myers, where Terry Johns is in jail because gas lines were so long, someone she thought was skipping the line, so she pulled her gun on them.
Right.
People, there's going to be long gas lines for a while. There are going to be a lot of long lines. That's not the answer. Never has been, never will be. But it does make today's good, bad, and ugly on October the 3rd, 2022.
And she was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was wrong.
She was
got it
completely
wrong. Yeah.
I was in kind of a tense situation at a gas station the other night recently. I was the last person to get gas. And I waited to get change. And they came out with signs that says, sorry, we're first responders only. And I was the first person in line with 20 people behind me. And they all crowded and said, what? You're what? And I just left. And I heard screaming and I drove away.
And you obviously had nothing to do with that. It just turned out to be, your place in line.
Right. I was very lucky.
Patience. It's hard. But you need to apply some. Because for the most part, there's someone down here that got it worse than you did.
Wow. Felipe, that's an interesting story. Especially since I'm guessing you were far and away the youngest person in line.
Yes.
And, right.
Yes. And there were only 2 people working the gas station.
Can I get a quick question on this? You said you waited for change. That applies to me that you had cash.
Yeah, I did. Of course.
No, not of course.
No, it's a hurricane. No, it's a hurricane. Come on. You have to get cash.
I'm proud of you, Felipe.
Of course.
Not of course. No. David, scale of 1 to 10. 10, Felipe was fully prepared for the hurricane with cash. 1, Felipe didn't even think about it because he's going to use his debit card everywhere. Where would you be on Felipe?
Boy, Felipe, I got to admit, that's a toss-up. That's no better than a toss-up.
That's
considering, be honest, normal times, what percentage of times do you use cash?
Less than 20.
Right. So,
yes. I rely on technology a little too much.
All right, let me ask you a follow-up question.
Okay.
Was this either mom or dad calling you to tell you to make sure to get cash, or did you do this on your own?
I did it on my own, and my dad even called me and said, did you get cash? And I said, yeah, I already did that.
See, now I'm impressed, Felipe.
Yeah.
All right. Job well done, young man.
Yeah. It was a toss-up, like going for it on 4th and goal. What do the analytics say? Let's see.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do analytics say during a hurricane? It probably say go get cash.
Among other things, that's for certain. That is for certain.
Final 3 days of the baseball regular season, and not a little bit of significance for seeding. But the Phillies' magic number to be the last playoff team in the National League is 1. So any combination of Phillies wins or Brewers losses that equals 1, and Philly is in. Now we're still, going to see if San Diego's the 5 or Philly's going to be the 5. And that determines, if you're the 5, you'll play the Mets. If you're the 6, you'll play the Cardinals. Same in the American League. Right now the Rays are the 6, the Mariners are the 5. The Jays are all but locked in as the 4. And if you're a Rays fan, who do you want to play? You want to play in Toronto for 3? You want to play in Cleveland for 3?
I might want to play Toronto. I know the whole thing sets up easier, but Cleveland's pitching scares me.
Well, I'll say this. The 2 best records in the American League since September 1st are Cleveland and Toronto.
So pick your poison.
Exactly.
One can just smack the ball and hits unbelievably well. And the other, Cleveland has it going on right now, but their pitching is strong. They're a tough out.
And Mark, you made the point in which first, for a best of 3, to just win 1 round, I might want to play Toronto over Cleveland, but I think I want to play Cleveland in the 3-6 matchup because if I win it, I get the Yankees. And I'd much rather get the Yankees than the Astros.
100%. 100%. I would imagine that baseball will look at this and talk about reseeding next year.
Well, we'll see how the first round goes. If too many 3s and 4s lose, I think you're right.
Because if they get 6s playing 2s, that's just not going to be a good look for baseball. You know, the Dodgers, in theory, should get the 6. That's the whole point of winning 110 plus games for the year.
Agreed. Same with the Astros. And they just got done beating the Rays 2 out of 3.
So,
And of course, we have Monday Night Football tonight. Rams at Niners. San Francisco, a 1.5-point favorite, over under a 42.5. So basically, it's a 22-21 toss-up.
I'm taking the Rams. David's got the Niners. Hopefully we get entertained. And hell, hopefully we get to watch it on TV tonight. That'd be nice.
And yes, as is pointed out in our Twitch chat room, Aaron Judge has 4 more games to try to hit number 62. He's also trailing in the batting race by 4 points. Miller and Moulton, have a great rest of your day.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa